Hello friends, welcome, my name's Popeye. Today we're playing some more Higurashi Chapter 7 Minagoroshi, or the Massacre Arc. Before we get into it, if Massacre didn't clue you in, this game has pretty mature themes, so I'm going to give some trigger warnings that this game includes, and if any of these aren't for you, please find some place you'd rather spend your time this evening. This game includes mature themes such as death, dismemberment, torture, rape, blood, gore, body horror, suicide, child abuse, any of those things against a minor, and especially this chapter we're literally fighting child abuse with, we're appealing a child abuse case with the local crisis center. If you missed any of what I just said, either please feel free to ask me to repeat it, or check down below in the description where I have a list of all of those trigger warnings. Hello, Samus says, you're out of food. Food is always great. And yes, I'm also always disappointed when I run out of food. Alright, so what did we do on this last time? We talked to a bunch of old people who didn't want us to protest because of their old outlooks on life and how the town should run. We first convinced the town council, and they were like, okay, we'll support you, but you have to get support from Mion's grandmother, the de facto leader of the town. So we're like, all right, let's go at her. We talked to her. It seemed like she wasn't going to side with us, and then she later did decide, basically under the condition that we agree that we choked her until she was unconscious. That way she's like, oh, he was a man of his of his words and actually did what he intimidated he would. So then with that, we got a bunch of the town to come and protest, and of course, what do? They call the police, and then the police are like, yeah, technically what you're doing is illegal, so I need you to stop that. So yeah, I think that basically covers it, so let's load right in. Yeah, that is a mood. That is definitely a mood. Satoko is sleeping like the dead. He didn't send her to school. That annoying teacher might come to harass him again. He really wanted her to go to school today. However, no matter how much he forced her to wake up, she collapsed and went back to sleep. He touched her forehead and realized that she had a high fever. You found out about a new Ubuntu server security hole? I hope they patch that. If you send her to school like that, they might say something about it. No choice but to call the school and tell them she's sick again. She asked many questions, but Teppy told her that she really was sick this time. I promise you, she's sick this time. She wasn't sick last time, but she's sick this time. You actually discovered it yourself? What is the Ubuntu way on this? Because on one side it's open software, right? So anyone should be able to see the issue and patch it. But on the other side, it's open, and if there's a major security risk and you make a GitHub ticket or whatever they use, anyone could see that security risk and then use it, which I'm kind of curious how that would work out. 1 hour later, he realized he said something he shouldn't have to the teacher. Ever since he took Satoko in, there'd been nothing but trouble. Yeah, I don't know. My first thought would be this. Check out their GitHub, Bitbucket, whatever it is they use. See if there's the list of owners or moderators, and see if there's a contact for them. That way you can like message, email, whatever it is, them directly without posting it, and be like, I found this security risk. Here's how, like, here's the steps to replicate it. Here's the implications of it. I didn't want to post it openly on the forum in case like someone could use this maliciously, but I wanted you to know about it. Any account without any real permission can reboot the server without authentication elevation. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a risk. Off the top of my head, I can't see anything you could really do with that other than be stupidly annoying and like take down. I guess you could just take down their server essentially if you rebooted it every second. Actually, yeah, that's pretty major. The teacher came to visit him the day after he took her. He received calls every so often, too. They're all from the Child Consultation Center. Every single one of them told him to put Satoko on the phone. Teppy was still certain that Satoko wouldn't give him up because of her fear that he'd destroy Satoshi's room if he did. However, he wasn't sure how long she'd keep her silence. In short, Teppy had no idea whether or not Satoko would continue to do as she was told. Yes, that definitely is something that you could do, assuming you have that other access to add malware on boot, then yes. Well, I feel like if you have access to inject malware into like the system runtime files for boot, yeah, you probably have a bigger security hole. That is true. You do bypass, because on the startup would run as root. Yeah. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I still don't have any better suggestions than see if there's like a way to contact the owners of the Ubuntu GitHub or whatever directly. The only thing he knew for absolute certain was that he couldn't control her forever with fear alone. He'd frighten her with just a look, but that fear wouldn't last for a very long time. He wanted to leave the house before Satoko got him into trouble. But in order to do that, he needed to find the bank book as soon as possible. Satoko was sleeping like an abandoned kitten inside of a wrinkled blanket. He was sweating heavily and breathing deeply. Both were signs of a very high fever. Teppy wasn't concerned in the least, of course, because he was a piece of garbage. Instead, he felt this was his chance. At that stage, she wouldn't notice if he went into Satoshi's room. He promised her he wouldn't mess around there as long as she stayed obedient to him. In reality, he went inside Satoshi's room when Satoko was at school, and he was very careful about putting everything back into place. However, by this point, he'd had enough. It had been like a whole 2 days of him trying to be nice. It's too much time trying to be nice. Oh, I accidentally clicked when I hadn't read that. He was anxious to leave as soon as he could. Even Teppy could tell that Satoko's fever wasn't from a cold, but from emotional distress. If she got even sicker, it would cause more trouble for him. He slowly crept up the stairs, heading for Satoshi's room. He tried to open the door, slowly, but it was stuck on something. He assumed he just hit the furniture with the door, but in the next moment, crash, he heard the loud sound of falling metal. Something had been stuck behind the door and had knocked over something on the bookshelf. Teppy clicked this time. He'd been planning to sneak into Satoshi's room while Satoko was asleep. Shortly after that, he heard Satoko running up the stairs. She wasn't running just because she heard a noise. She was running because she heard a noise from Satoshi's room. That meant Teppy was trying to get inside.
Ah, もう静かにやろう思ったんにいきなりついとらんわ。わしゃんな、銭がいるんよ。サトシの部屋に通帳が隠してあるんは分かっとん。お前がサトシの部屋に隠したことも分かっとん。おとなしい暗示せえや。
通帳なんて知らないですわ。そんなのニーニーの部屋にはありませんのよ。だからニーニーの部屋を荒らさないで。ニーニーが帰ってくるまでそのままなの。
I assume if it wants a particular package, you can't just say all of Ubuntu.
やめすか。
Satoko let out a dull cry as she went rolling across the floor. Satoko's screams echoed across the room. Hitting her would leave a mark, and then the child consultation center would harass him, and maybe more than that. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. So, I mean, if you have enough information that you could submit it through their bug reporting app, like, I'm sure if they wanted or needed more information, they'd reach out to you. Hey, Troth, how's it going? Yeah, we're talking about Ubuntu. As a man of violence, it was always stressful enough to be warned not to hit her. Once he hit her on impulse like he just did, his restraint was all gone. Satoko was crying and holding her left cheek. Might have suffered a cut on the inside of it when he punched her. He had bloody drool trickling out of a corner of her mouth. Is 22 listed as their stable release? I haven't really followed Ubuntu. We use it a lot for like work deployments, but usually we just use AWS and have them automatically update stuff for us. So like I don't usually track like stuff on it unless there's like a major security issue that comes out.
た時に流れたら面倒なことになるの。ああ、まあちゃったよ。にとやっかましい。踊りゃ他に言えんのか。たまらんか。
Tuppy kicked her and she curled up on the floor. Ever since Rena had abandoned him, nothing good had happened at all. All he got was a whiny little girl. All she can do is cook and clean. Other than that, she just acts scared all the time. Yeah. You should not have to use sudo for most things. yeah, so... Samus was talking that they found a way that you could reboot an entire server without any permissions. Yeah, no problem with like the derailing. Yeah, so we were talking like, what's the best way to report a security risk for open software? Because you don't want to just like post, hey, I found the security flaw. And here's like how you can use it and what it can do. So we were talking, and it sounds like Samus said they have a bug reporting tool, so you can report stuff privately, so that you're not reporting something and like everyone on the internet can see like, oh, there's this outstanding bug that means I can reboot all of your servers. I have no idea why anyone thought that would be a good idea. I'm assuming that they changed some kind of permission and it had this side effect. Amazing. When Satoko started crying like an infant, Teppy also lost his mind. Yeah, I've worked with some pretty bad old software at times with my clients. like we had clients where we were doing software installs for them, and we would install like on behalf of them to like their clients. And there were ones where like we'd go in and be like, you're still running Windows XP. Like, this is not safe. Like, we cannot in good conscience install this software that deals with people's private information on your server, knowing that you're running Windows XP. And their response to us was, okay, we don't need your software. We're just going to keep running Windows XP. Bye. So, my faith in, like, any server keeping my information safe is very quickly dropping.
おっと、私に指一本でも触れると、執行妨害で現行犯逮捕しますよ。
I haven't heard that one's that bad. I think the oldest I've had requested for was IE8.
やめなよ、ケイちゃん。挑発に乗っちゃダメだよ。大石のおじさま、そんな態度だときっと長生きできませんよ。
そりゃ怖い。言葉をもうちょい選ばないと、あなたの場合は恐喝の現行犯になります。
Hero, I can literally see that your last prime was 9 days ago. How? Yeah, where's Zero? I'm gonna go take his hat. That way you can't have it. What do you mean, don't worry about it? How long? I've had, it'll be 2 years of affiliate come, I think like 2 weeks from now or so. How do you have unlimited Prime subscriptions? No, Droth. Guys. Don't worry about it. Do you get all your like Amazon Prime packages like immediately? If so, I might want into this.
レナ、お前何を言ってるんだ？
わかんないかな。大石さんは言葉がさっきから優しい。警察の対面で言ってるだけで、本当は圭一君の味方なんじゃないかな。だって大石さんが本気で私たちを追い払おうとしたら、こんな悠長に話し合いをしないで実力で追い払ってると思うもの。
You get them delivered by drone.
追い払われなくても現にこうして相談所の前に立ちはだかってるじゃないかよ。
I don't think they're delivering them by drone in Canada yet.
これがどう味方だってんだよ。
I don't think so. We do have a good number of distribution centers. Like, I physically know the closest distribution center to me. Unless they... Well, actually, they're building a new one that might be closer. I don't know if that one's built yet.
おいさん、パトニー課長から無線が入ってるっす。
ありゃどうも。じゃあ私はちょっと席を外します。皆さんは解散の段取りだけお願いします。そこから一歩でも前に進んだら、その時点で宣戦布告ってことにしますからね。
No, I can tell you how you can. I can tell you how, as an individual person, you can activate a hype train, but I'm not going to. Also, I think it has to be 100 bits as the minimum.
覚えておいてくださいよ。
But yes, there are ways for an individual person to start a hype train if the streamer has the default hype train settings, because you can modify that. No, Sams, no trains. You live about 4 miles. The closest one to me is probably about 20 miles. Yeah, probably about that. And they're building another one that might be like 10 to 15 miles away.
クソったれ。
もしもし、大石です。
I love the crappy train, not train, jeez. The crappy car in the rearview mirror.
神田旅行。
大石さん、そっちの件はどうですか？
大丈夫です。皆さん極めて冷静です。ただ人数が集まっちゃったので内部の話をつけるのに
Yeah, you shouldn't be buying a train.
そうなのかい？相談所の方からまた電話が来てるよ。まだ解散させられないのかって。
Oh, what's the other bug you found?
もうじき解散しますよ。トップの話はもうついてるんです。向こうが多分内部を説得するのに時間がかかってるんでしょう。また電話があったらもうちょい待ってくださいと伝えてください。
Ah, gotcha. Okay, that's cool.
鬼ヶ淵死守同盟が動き出したなんて聞いて大石さん言ってもらったけど
I found a bug
行きそうだね。
earlier this week. There's a mobile game I've been playing a lot called Hogwarts Mystery. Came out like, I don't know, 3 years ago or something. I found a bug where I literally watched a person, their like character model, walk straight through like a fountain. It's called iOS. Never been a fan of iOS. Never been a fan of building for iOS either. Apple is just such a pain to deal with.
おいさん、よくスラスラ嘘が言えるっ
Like,
すね。
literally the next time I have to develop apps for Apple again, I'm gonna have to spend minimum probably like 8 hours upgrading my computer.
トップの話なんて全然ついてないじゃないですか。
さてね、どの下が嘘をついたやら。
所長からすぐに解散させないと暴動に発展する可能性があると脅されてますし、やはり増援を頼んで向こうがこれ以上体制を整える前に攻撃した方がよろしいんじゃないですか。
クマちゃん、そう意地悪しなさんなよ。
は？
Yeah, I love Android and it's like apps. I've got some, like my manga reader on my phone, which is called Tachiomi, Tachiomi. Just downloaded the APK directly and installed it. It's been fantastic.
仲間を助けようとしてあれだけの人数を集めたんですよ。
Pretty sure that's illegal.
大したもんじゃないですか。懲戒を動かしたっ
I
て
guess
ことは
the downside to Android over Apple in that sense is Apple is rigorous with what apps can go on the Apple Store. Like, it's insane to me. Whereas Android, anyone can make something and post it, or just give you like, here's the APK file, trust me, it's safe.
あの年で説得するなんてできることじゃありません。
やはりこれだけの人数を集めるには園崎お寮の根回しは不可欠ですか。
連中が助けろって言ってる里子ってのはダム推進派の北条夫妻の娘です。見殺しにはしても助けるために村が立ち上がるなんてことはありえない。
Yeah, I don't think anyone really reads terms of service.
それくらいに村と北条家の間の溝は深かったはずです。それをわずか数日で埋めたんですよ、彼は。実はね、私そのやりとりの一部を見てるんですよ。渡流しの準備会の席上でね、 彼は勇ましかった。村の年寄り連中から総攻撃を食らっても全然ひるみやしない。見事年寄り連中を説得した。
Yeah, good luck with that.
そして、お寮も説得
Like some of it's good. Like every app that goes on there has to have like a terms and services agreement approved by Apple. Any app that has like messaging or anything like that has to have a security plan that they can show for, let's say someone posts something like racist or something. You have to have a security plan that involves being able to moderate, so take down posts like that, be able to record like who did it and when, so that you can submit it to Apple and stuff like that. So like that stuff's all very nice, but there is some stuff that's pretty strict.
で、今日があるんだから、その先本家まで納得させちゃったわけだ。ありゃ将来は大物だよ。クマちゃんは今から前原さんと仲良くしといた方がいいかもしれませんよ。
Are the ads on iPhone apps different than Android apps? Like, do they like assume things about you? Because you have an iPhone.
じゃあやはり大石さん手加減してましたね。普段なら強引にやるはずなのに話し合いなんて生ぬるいことを始めるから驚いた。
前原さんに今日はちょいと花を持たせようと思ってます。
Wish he said something that he shouldn't say as a policeman. Magi had to struggle to understand what he meant. Minagoroshi, a thin smile. He asked him a
解
question.
散したってことにして引き上げますか？
そこまでサービスすることはないです。
Yeah, I don't know how the ads actually work.
前原さんたち
First of all, mobile ads are an adventure.
鬼ヶ淵の連中をまだまだ
They either show you like the same thing 10,000 times, or they show you something that has absolutely nothing to do with like whatever they're trying to sell you. But I know for things like TV, if you purchase TV ads, you can get stupidly specific with your audience. You can say things like, I don't know, let's say you're going through NBC. I was just trying to think of a US network that wasn't Fox. You could say something like, I want this to go out to people who have children who live in apartments without pets. And, like, you can be oddly specific with where you target your ads. Alright, Sam says, yeah, you take care.
まあ見ててください。
Yeah, I was curious if mobile ads had, like, that level of stupid exactness to them. I kind of doubt it. It seems like mobile ads are just... How many eyes can I throw this ad in front of?
クマちゃんも一本吸います？
And especially if you're the kind of person that plays like a bunch of mobile games, they're often made by like the same group of people, and then their other their ads are going to other apps and stuff that they own to try and keep it inside like their company to keep the money contained. Magi accepted the offer, taking a cigarette from Oishi's hand. Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. Yeah, I'm curious, like, how personalized can you get? And it's, like, one thing to personalize the ad to, like, I don't know, like, pull the user's name and, like, location information from the device. It's another thing to be like, I only want to, like, show this ad to people aged 20 and under or something like that. Next moment, two black vehicles stop short in front of the building, their brakes screaming under the stress.
俺おいでなすった。行きますよ、熊ちゃん。
Several men wearing well-tailored suits emerge from the vehicles. Some of them looked like muscle-headed gangsters, some of them more resembled intelligent businessmen. There was a clearly overbearing old man in a hakama with a crest, and what looked like a whole circle of Yakuza leaders arrived after him.
前原圭一は俺です。何の用ですか。
間違えるな。我々は君の味方だ。
あんた方は誰ですか。
おじさん、どうしてここに。そんなありえないです。
Shion-mian's surprise reactions made me feel nervous.
圭一君、君が代表だ。戸惑うことはない。行こう。
A group of men clap me on the shoulders. I can't go, the police are here.
はいはいはい、ストップストップ。沖宮署の大石です。皆さんこんにちは。どちらへおいでですかな。
なんじゃいお前は。警察が住民の代表の陳情を妨害するとはどういう了見じゃ。
いえいえ、園崎先生、これはですね、相談所側からの要請に基づく出動でございまして。
Sonozaki sensei? He a teacher from some school? Wait, no, I don't have time to joke around. Man Hakama must be the Sonozaki family's representative in the prefectural assembly, so he's a member of government. I heard that he's a really scary guy when he raises his voice, just like Mion's grandma.
警察は突っ込んでろ。おお、お前にここに来て陳情を妨害しろと命令しよったのは誰じゃ。
いえ、所長から直々でして。いやー、所長には逆らえませんもので。
沖宮署の署長だな。後で厳重抗議しちゃう。首を洗って待っとけと言うておけや。
Wishi's partner was doing his best not to laugh.
はいはい、伝えておきます。でですね、とりあえず獅子骨市の条例がございまして、施設長である相談所長がですね、彼らが入ると事務に支障があるってんで、権限の範囲内で敷地からの退去を命じてるわけなんです。
So Oishi-san explained. In a half-troubled, half-delighted manner, one of the intelligent-looking guys started talking instead of Representative Sonozaki.
園崎法律相談事務所より参りました。弁護士の園崎です。市児童相談所施行条例は拝見させていただきましたが、本件は不当で職権乱用にあたります。こちらは施行条例の複写。また前原圭一氏はひなみ沢連合長会が委任した陳情団の団長です。こちらが連合長会発行の委任状。ひなみ沢連合長会は獅子骨市役所自治係の立ち会いの下で結成された善意の住民団体です。よって前原圭一氏は正当な手続きを経て結成された住民団体の正当な代表者と認められます。この陳情を否定するのは明らかな職権乱用であり、これは市職員服務規定にも違反します。以上から児童相談所長の命令が執行することは
Apparently we have Phoenix Wright representing us now, so I think we're good.
警察がこれ以上の妨害を行う場合、
わかりましたわかりました。ごめんなさい。どうぞ皆さんお通りください。
最初から突っ込んどればええんじゃ。さあ行くぞ圭一君。
全員で入られればやっぱりそれはジムに支障が出ると思うんですがね。
Hello, Deadbeard. How are you doing?
ご心配なく。団長以下の我々代表団だけで入ります。この人数でも業務に支障があると言われますが、相談所内の待合ロビーにはソファーが4機あり、10人程度の訪問者は十分に想定の範囲内で。
Yeah, no worries. I know phone browser is bad.
失礼しました。打足でした。
Like, the only time I actually use phone browser to talk in chat is if, like, one, I'm, like, I don't know, like somewhere where I don't have my computer and I'm, like, I don't know, like waiting for a movie or whatever. Or if I'm watching it on my TV and I'm only using my phone to chat.
どうぞどうぞお通りください。
I'm doing well. It's a long weekend here in Canada, so extra sleep, extra time with family. Got the Monday off, so it's nice.
前原君、行きましょう。もう私たちを遮る敵はいりません。
はい。おいレナ、ミオシオン、リカちゃんも行くぞ。
行こうみんな。
Exhibit B.
やはりこれはお寮の口利きですか？だね。
And how much are we up to in that now? Because I know Samus's was basically donating every time they got bits. Or, not bits, channel points.
まさかバッチャ、この人たちにまで声をかけてくれるとはね。見て見ぬふりどころか、そのだけ本家最大支援じゃないですか。
I was watching someone do the Paper Mario Rando run, and there was something that I saw that happened to them, and I was just like, oh, that's bad. That, like, that's a horrible thing. I'm trying to think of what it was.
おばが様、どういう心変わりですか？
Oh, I remember what it was. So, you know, spoilers to anyone who hasn't played Paper Mario 64 version who really wants to. So in Chapter 4, when Taste T loses her frying pan, and you have to retrieve it and you give it back to her, and she gives you... I think she gives you, like, some kind of dish she's cooked. I don't remember what it is, like a shroom fry or whatever. Maybe it's a hot shroom, something like that. She gives you something, and with the randomizer, so the item you get is randomized, they also had fakes on. So Tasty gave them a fake Thunder Rage and dealt damage to them, and then responded by saying, "This dish is how I won my last lover's heart." And we were just like, huh, I guess your last lover was into some kinky stuff. Okay, we're leaving now, bye.
レナは驚かないけどな。
Why isn't it in your channel points list? That is a good question. I can see we're just under 3,000 raised.
みーちゃんのおばあちゃん、きっと力になってくれるって。
So yeah, there's some weird things that I've seen happen.
そっか。
Dang it, Samus.
あのばあさんには
Thought you were
とんでもない
lurking.
ことたくさん言っちまったけど、チクショー、キスしてやりたい気分だぜ。
じゃあみんな、私たちは行ってくるね。
I recommend just not running. You know, you just walk to the side, then you don't run into each other. Crowd cheers. The main event is about to begin.
前原さん、委員長、宝蔵お願いします。さとこちゃんお願い。
前原の坊主、しっかりな。
The community for it's really taking off. So this person, I just happened to find them because it was early in the morning. I had to be up earlier because we were having the car detailed, and the appointment was about like 7:30 in the morning. So I had to be up early. So then I was just like, oh, I'll go to work. And when I'm like trying to like heads down focus, I usually just put on something in the background that I'm familiar enough with that I'm not like looking at it like all the time. So I found found someone doing Paper Mario Randomizer, but they're probably doing runs every other day right now. A lot of those are U.S. time zone focus, but there is a group of people with a Europe time zone focus. It's just not as popular. US, like, some days they're running 2 or 3 races a day. What have you remembered, Samus's? And the scariest part to me is the people who are participating and completing 2 or 3 runs a day. I did look into Node Core very briefly. I didn't have a chance to look at the crafting stuff. I'm going to make a note of that. Because that was the thing that I guess interested me the most. Node Core crafting. But I did like look at it, and it does look very nice. You said that was a Node test package, right? Is Node test free? Just out of curiosity.
前原さん、ここで待ってます。良い知らせを待っていますよ。
必ず良い知らせを。先生も待ってますからね。
I put my fist in the air in response to their high expectations. Why did it anger you today? We entered the child consultation center backed by the power of the Sonozaki family. Finally made it. It was cool inside the building, unlike the outside world. You could still hear the crowd, but at a lower volume. It was loud enough to hear their cheers. Staff in the building must have known who we were. They tried to concentrate on their work as if they didn't see us.
こんにちは。今日はどんなご用でしょうか。
前原圭一です。
Next question. Does Node Core have, like, servers you can host? Because, like, I know a lot of people host a Minecraft server. Maybe, like, hosting, like, a Node Core server could be your thing. I don't know. Just no pressure to do anything, just out of curiosity.
北条里子の件についてお願いに上がりました。
死のうの言わんで所長出さんか。ひなみ沢連長の代表の前原氏が来とるんじゃ。
所長はただいま所用で手が離せません。
Oh, that's nice.
代わって私がお話を賜ります。
どうも、園崎法律相談事務所より参りました。以後の会話はすべて録音させていただきますので、ご了承をお願いいたします。どうか責任あるご返答をお願いいたします。
所長の手が空くかどうか確認いたします。
This poor lady who's just like here to like, my boss just said I shouldn't like let people talk to him.
少々お待ちください。
Yeah, I remember when you were doing the game jam stuff. I actually saw one of those game jams come out later. It was the one you were doing where you like collected the colored blocks, then you could use that to like build trees and like expand the island. Whichever that one was called, I did actually see like an ad for that later. So I guess it's doing all right.
お久しぶりです。
園崎議員、その説は大変お世話になりまして。
今日はひなみ沢連合町会の代表団のメンバーとしてお伺いしました。所長さんに合わせてください。
And I may have heard there was one you had that was like a puzzle game. I heard about one that reminded me of it. I'm not sure if it was the same one or not, but it sounded eerily similar to it, so that one might be taking off as well too.
大変失礼しました。君、所長席前の応接にご案内してお茶をお出しして。
I guess the power of a representative can really get public officials moving. I heard that there are both prefectural and municipal representatives in the Sonozaki family. We have the power of both of them today. That means we have nothing to fear. Except for bureaucracy. We were inside his office, but the head of the office wasn't to be found. I'm sure he's somewhere in the building. All the exits are blocked. There's no way he could escape from us. He better not be thinking he can hide from us all day. The head of the office, in fact, was peeping out through the blinds of the meeting room on the second floor, and he was shaking in fear. Why are they inside the building? What are the police doing?
県議と
市議の園崎議員が両方おいでで、あと弁護士らしき人もいます。責任ある回答と言われると管理職以外では対応できません。
I've got it. Today's Saturday. It's nearly 3, right? Just stay here until then. Have them leave after we close up. Meanwhile, I'll talk to the municipal manager about what to do
基地の
next.
係長からは折れといた方がいいってご助言いただきませんでしたっけ？
Oh, was that the tower defense one?
懲戒っていうから。
I remember that one had some bugs in
おっ
it.
さんなんかが来ると思ってたのに。なんで議員が来るわ、弁護士が来るわ、ヤクザは来るわ。人が200人も集まってくる
Also,
わ
why
け
is
です
the
か。
chief now voiced? Dang it.
それが
That's probably why I don't even remember it, because it couldn't even run. Oh, and now he's lost his voice again. Anyway, the office is closing in 10 minutes. I'm sure they'll threaten me if I meet with them. I'm not going to concede. That's my duty as a civil servant. I've been working for the government for 40 years, and I'm not ashamed to boast about that. I'll never compromise just because some gangster threatens me. The next moment, the phone in the conference room rang loudly. The head of the office nearly jumped out of his skin. Scared even of the phone, told the manager to tell whoever it was that he wasn't there.
もしもし、原山です。ああ、どうも。変わります。所長、自治です。
Hello, I'm in deep trouble. About 200 people surrounding the consultation center right now. They even have representatives on their side. What should I do?
だから私申し上げましたよね、所長。
It's your job as a municipal government to control trouble within the town councils. Do something about this. It's your sworn duty to take care of this.
別に自治はそういう係じゃありませんよ。いや、自治の仕事は
I don't know if I said this, but when I was doing that the game demo stream, which by the way, I'm still trying to get more games to demo. I already have one. There's already one new game to demo, by the way. We almost didn't have oh, what was the second one we did? Let me check. So now I tweeted about it fairly recently. System Shock 2022 almost didn't happen because the link they sent me for the demo was actually incorrect. I happened to find the correct link. I think that was through GOG. I think that was the platform for it. So I made a report. I think that was the night before as I was getting everything set up. So I made a report to them like, hey, the one you sent me doesn't work. They never actually got back to me on that, and it's been, what, like 3 weeks or something? So they never actually got back to me on that. But I happened to find their demo. So I don't know what was different about the one they tried to send me. It looks like they deleted it later, so I'm not quite sure what happened with that. But yeah, we almost didn't have that one. We almost only had 2 games. I don't care. Can you do something about this?
向こうの言い分に譲歩するしかないですよ。建前はこの際引っ込めた方がいいです。私どもも住民あっての
But yeah, what I've found, having gone through a bunch of these game demo ones, what I've found is that there's 2 sites I'm mainly using. One of them, it's a really simple process because it tells the people uploading the games, say like, oh, I'm looking for someone on Twitch who has like minimum this many followers, this average views, doesn't own this game on Steam, whatever their criteria is. They pre-put that in, and they also say like, oh, I'm going to give away 50 keys, 100 keys, whatever it is. So they pre-enter all that. So then as the person streaming it, you can go in and you can just check the ones you're pre-approved for. So then there's no like, back and forth or waiting on them. You just like find a game you like. You're like, oh, this one, perfect, great, accept the offer because I'm already qualified for it. So that one we did. That one was Spiritfarer and System Shock were both through that one. Alice went through another one where developers post it, there's no requirements listed on it. You just like put in a request for it. And what I found from that one is, at the time, I put in requests for 7 or 8 games. Alice was the only one who got back to me. They got back to me really quickly. In like 2 days, maybe? 3 days? It was pretty quick. I now have maybe a dozen games I've applied for there that they haven't got back to me. Most of them, except for one I applied for yesterday, or I applied for today, I can't remember when, has been there like at least a week with no response. So I don't know if they've like seen it and like they're just declining it and like didn't, maybe there's no way to mark it as like declined or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, so there's a bunch of those that have been there, like 7 that have been there for at least like 5-6 weeks. But yeah, we got 1 new game. We're waiting on a couple others. They claim that they try to have places get back to you within like 3 business days, but that hasn't been my experience so far. And no, we're not doing Alice in hard mode. That ending. Also, I'm still waiting on to see if I'm the 2nd fastest speedrunner in the world on that, but I think that might take a while. I don't know. Because the category, there's just one dude who's the moderator, who I think they like literally just made the category, posted their speedrun, and then because they were the first one to do it, they became the mod of the game channel. So I have no idea how active they are and if they even care. And also for reference, while I was doing that, I would still be the 3rd fastest Trails of Cold Steel 1 any percent normal mode speedrunner, because no one else has submitted anything. You're an official too, aren't you? How dare you take the side of the town council? I'm not going to concede. I'm going to follow the regulations. A civil servant's duty is to conduct business impartially. I've never broken that rule in my entire career. I passed the administrator's exam because I always follow the rules.
的な判断は所長にお任せします。こちらも努力はしますが、だから所長、私言いましたよね。連中を怒らしちゃいけないって。
Fine, I won't ask for your help anymore. I'm hanging up the phone.
所長、今日は3時で逃げ切ったとして、月曜にもまた来ますが。自治にまでサジを投げられたらもう市長室にはとっくに話がいってます。月曜の町議で多分話が出ますよ。
I haven't done anything that would upset the mayor, no matter what he says to me. That's what I'll tell him. Phone rang once again. Also once again, the head of the office trembled in fear. The manager had to reluctantly pick up the phone.
つないでください。はい、お電話変わりました。
But no, I would not have done Alice on hard mode, because that ending was so bad. I don't even know what my frame rate was at the end of that. It felt like I was getting like 4 frames a second.
お待ちください。所長、お電話です。
こんにちは。自治じゃなく、誰からです？
市長からお電話です。
はい、そうですね。ひなみ沢地区6町会を束ねる連合。そうですね。ぜひ話を聞いてあげてください。そんなことはありませんよ。公平さはとても大切ですが、地域に合った柔軟な対応をしてこその姿勢です。よろしくお願いします。今日の話が終わりましたら、今日の6時までに市長室に直接報告にいらっしゃってください。よろしくお願いいたします。
Man spoke with a gentle demeanor, but in a tone that didn't allow objections. And the elderly man in a double suit set the receiver down. Rory was sitting on the couch in the reception area. Connie was there with her too.
とんでもない。それにしても、本庁舎に直接いらっしゃるのはずいぶん久しぶりになりますよね。園崎さんが直接おいでになられるから何事かと思いました。
すまんね。ものを頼むんかいね。直接コンとな。 礼儀悪いと思うたんよ。すまんねえ、ほんま。
いえいえ。当方の職員が大変に失礼いたしました。市政が町会の皆さんとの連携で成り立っていることをよく指導しなかった私の不徳が招いた事態です。
So he says. However, the mayor couldn't believe that Empress Sonozaki came all the way to see him just to save one little girl. It's a huge deal that Oreo Sonozaki comes directly to his office. It's also unusual for her to do things indirectly to begin with. Rather than leading the charge herself, she was having Keiichi Maibara save Satoko. The mayor understood that she was doing this so Keiichi Maibara would get all the credit. Because of that, he was very interested in this young Keiichi Maibara.
しかし、聞けば聞くほど関心な若者ですね。友達を助けるためにそれだけの運動を起こす情熱と気力はなかなか今時の若者には見られません。
そうなんよ、そうなんよ。大した若い手段ね。あんなのがいてくれたら、わーしゃいつお迎えが来ても、いつでもひなみ座を任せられるわ。
ババ様、お迎えなんて縁起でもないよ。
長い気ゃするもんさな。あかね、今後も何かあったら、ケイチの面倒。
I love how this lady has, like, had a husband, she's got kids, she's got grandkids. She's like, no, my life was only worth it when I met this random kid I talked to once for like 2 hours. Like, I don't care about all of you. y'all can go die. I don't care.
私が男の子を産まなかったの、まだ根に持ってるのかい
？It was now 3 p.m. and I heard the announcement that the center was closing. The head of the office finally showed up in the room. He seemed like a totally different person. When I first met him, he had a cold attitude and responded to questions with blunt answers. But now he was much nicer and agreed with everything we said. I guess the power we held must have intimidated him. If I was alone, I never would have gotten him to listen to me. It's thanks to everyone's support that I'm able to talk to him now.
本当に申し訳ございませんでした。直ちに対応いたします。係長、北条さんのお宅に電話してください。
わかりました。
Satoko, finally. You're finally free. Gosh dang it, Teppy. Teppy stopped kicking her as soon as he heard the phone ring. You could ignore the call, but if it was someone from the Child Consultation Center, they might become suspicious of him. He'd hurt Satoko enough to leave bruises. He couldn't let them visit, so he had no choice but to deal with them over the phone.
これぐらいで勘弁しちゃんがな。ええか、通帳の場所、電話が終わるまでに思い出しとかんね。
He's literally just been kicking her for, like, at least 15 minutes. All Satoko would do was curl up and cry.
もしもし、どちら様？
お世話になっております。沖宮の生活相談所でございます。
Also, they reuse. I'm pretty sure they're reusing the phone background that's the same for the Sonozaki house.
またかいね。あんたとこも暇やんな。うちばっかりかまっちょなんで、他の仕事せえな。お前の給料俺の税金で賄っとんやん。
Somehow I doubt he pays
申し訳
taxes.
ございません。これからうちの職員がお邪魔させていただきますが、よろしいでしょうか。
よろしいわけない。今な、家の中を大掃除中なんねん。誰もお迎えできるような状況にありまへん。また日を改めてえな。
The consultation center wouldn't give up. Teppy wanted to hang up the phone, but if he did, he knew they'd show up for sure.
今日は聡子さんはお休みしていると聞いていますが、ご在宅ですね。病気なのに外出させてるということはございませんよね。申し訳ございません。聡子さんに大至急確認したいことがございまして。
なんじゃい、聡子に何の確認があるんじゃい。わしが聡子の親ねんねん。
聡子さんを電話先に出すの拒否されますか？
拒否なんて言っとらん。親がこの代わりに回答する言うとんねん。我今日はえらい強気やんねん。どういうつもりじゃい。
もう一度お願いいたします。聡子さんを電話先に出していただけませんか。
おんだりや。
You thought dealing with government officials was a bit like playing whack-a-mole. Hit them hard enough, they won't show up for a while. Today, whoever's on the phone seems so provocative and self-assured. Peppy sensed that they'd definitely come to the house if he didn't put Satoko on. If they sound like that over the phone, if they came to the house, they might bring along more than just a couple of people. For all Teppy knew, they might even bring a police officer. If they did, he couldn't turn them away at the entrance. He knew too well how scary police officers could be.
ちょいと待っとれや。風邪で寝とるとこ起こすんねん。時間くれや。
Covered the phone with his hand and spoke to Satoko downstairs.
さとかよ。相談所の人がな、お話ししたいことあるっちゅうねん。ちょいと電話に出てんか。
Even though he had just been beating her, Teppy was addressing Satoko in a sweet, phony voice. It would disturb people to hear him talk like that. Satoko knew that his sweet voice was the scariest tone of voice he had. She couldn't refuse after hearing him talk like that, so she obeyed him and went upstairs. Teppy grabbed Satoko's shoulder with all his might and whispered in her ear.
わしら仲良し家族やんね。そこ間違っちゃダメやんね。な。はい。わしを怒らせると、サトシの部屋が大変なことになってまんの。よく覚えといてな。ああ。ちゃんとうまく電話ができたら、もう金輪際サトシの部屋には入らんと約束する。どうや？な？な？
He squeezed her shoulders even tighter. Satoko contorted her face in pain.
わしら仲直りじゃ。な？な？
わかってますわ。仲良しですもの。
Teppy gave the phone to Satoko as soon as she nodded. He stood behind her, continuing to grip her shoulders tight. Like a raptor gripping its prey with its sharp talons.
北条聡子さんですね。こちらは沖宮の生活相談所の原山と申します。いかがですか、その後は。
鉄平さんとの生活は問題ありませんか？
Why did it switch from being phone voice to just being regular voice? The volume on the phone was low enough that Teppy couldn't hear what they were saying. However, he squeezed Satoko's shoulders harder and urged her to say something, because her silence could be interpreted as a negative answer.
おじさんとの生活はその後もうまくいっていましたよ。
そうですか。問題ありませんか。え？ああ、はいはい。どうぞ。
もしもし、サトコか。俺だ。ケイチだ。無事か。
ええ、無事ですわよ。
いいか、サトコ。もう全部決着がつくぞ。児童相談所の所長は、お前がうんとうなずけば即時に保護すると約束した。所長だけじゃないぞ。下根市の市長もお前の救済に最優先指示を出してくれてる。へへ、すげえだろ。園崎家が全部手回しをしてくれたんだ。ミオンのばあさんがそこまで動いてくれたんだぜ。
Satoko always felt bitter towards the Sonozaki family because they were often the ones talking about her behind her back. She hated Oreo most of all. It didn't make sense to her that Oreo would do anything to help her.
ダム戦争以降、ひなみ沢に北条家の娘だというだけで、サトコ、俺は鈍感だから気づかなかったが、サトコは毎日そういう人たちの冷たい目線に傷つきながら生活してきたんだよな。でもな、そんなのは全部俺たちがぶち破ってやった。もうひなみ沢には誰一人お前のことを見捨てようとする奴はいない。お前に見せられないのが残念だぜ。今俺たちを応援するためにひなみ沢から200人以上の人が集まってる。明日の綿流しの祭りの準備を放り出してお前を助けるために相談所へ陳情に集まってくれてるんだよ。え？あ、はい。園崎家の人から伝言だ。ミオンのばあさんいるだろ。サトコに伝えてくれってさ。今まで冷たくしてごめんなってさ。今度ぜひみんなで本家へ遊びにおいでってさ。な？あのばあさんももうお前の味方なんだよ。あのばあさん、お前を助けるために今市長のとこに 直談判に言ってるらしいぞ。だからそれは俺たちも同じだ。俺たちお前の仲間はな、お前が連れ去られた次の日から毎日相談所に押しかけていたんだからな。みんなが聡子のために賛同してくれた。人の数はどんどん増えて、今やひなみ沢。
Alright, Samuses, enjoy your game night.
ちょっと待て、リカちゃんが変わる。
聡子、リカです。リカ。圭一たちが全部終わらせてくれましたです。もうひなみ沢は聡子を敵にはしないのです。だから僕と聡子が一緒にお買い物に行っても聡子だけが無視されたりしない。僕だけがおまけをもらえたりはしないのです。聡子に冷たくする人はもういないのです。
Satoko wasn't sure if she should feel happy or sad that Rika knows how badly the villagers were treating her. All she could do was let out a bitter laugh.
信じられませんですわ。そうね、私も信じられない。リカ？
Satoko was surprised. She was surprised to hear Rika's voice sound so mature over the phone. She almost sounded like a different person.
どうやっても助けられない袋小路なんだろうと諦めた。あなたもそうだったはず。でも運命なんてなかった。抜けられない袋小路なんてなかった。どんな壁も金魚すくいの網よりも薄いんだって豪語して、聡子、もう不幸に屈しなくていい。私たちはもうあなたの鼻先にまで救いの手を。あなたがうなずくだけでも手が届く。でも私強くならなくちゃいけないんですの。あなたのトラウマ、それを克服しようとするあなたの強さ。あなたはおばのいじめをサトシの背中でやり過ごしてきたことに、その贖罪のために鉄平のいじめに耐えていることを知っているわ。助けを求めない自分になることで兄に甘えきってしまった自分と決別したいという、それはとても高貴な決意で、あなたの成長を意味する素晴らしいこと。もしサトシが今ここにいたなら、あなたきっと頭を撫でてくれる。ムーって。いいになんて思った。全然ダメね。あなたはサトシの強さなんかに全然追いついていない。
Rika's words were suddenly toned with malice, penetrating Satoko's heart the moment she thought she was saved.
あなたは耐えることが強さだと思ってるようだけど、それが昔とどう違うというの。今のあなたはサトシが帰ってくるまでを耐えているだけ。結局サトシにかばってもらうまでを耐え忍んでいるだけなのよ。あなたはサトシがどれだけの強さを持っていたのか。サトシはね、戦ったの。恐ろしいおばに、あなたを救うために。思い出しなさい。あなたが泣き叫ぶほどに恐れたあのおばに、両手を広げてあなたの前に立ってかばってくれたサトシの姿を。
Satoshi was just as scared as Satoko was. All she'd ever seen was her brother's back. She had no idea what kind of expression he was wearing on his face. He didn't want to stand in front of his furious aunt, but he had no choice. He wanted to protect his sister. Satoko never once saw how scared he was. She never once saw how courageous he was in spite of that.
サトシは耐えたんじゃない。助けを求めなかったんじゃない。戦ったの。立ち向かったの。私もかつてはそうだった。どうせダメだと思って戦うのをやめた。立ち向かうのをやめた。運命に屈し耐えることを選んだ。助けを求めたってどうにもならないと思って助けを求めるのもやめてしまった。それは今のあなたと同じ。いじけて誰かに助けてもらうのを待っているだけ。でもね、私は立ち向かう。だから圭一から受話器を奪った。この運命の最後の最後だけでも。だから私があなたを解き伏せてみせる。聡子、 あなたのすぐ後ろに鉄平が。ええ、いますわ。さあ、その男の顔を見なさい。その恐ろしくて醜悪な顔を。そしてその恐ろしさに完全と立ち向かったサトシの勇敢さに気づきなさい。もしあなたがサトシに対する罪をあがなおうとしたならば、それは助けを求めない強さを得ることじゃない。サトシの勇気を、力強さを受け継ぐことなの。それにどうか気づきなさい。
Satoko slowly looked back at her uncle, though she was afraid to do so. He was wearing an unpleasantly broad grin while gripping her shoulders so tightly. Ultimately, it wasn't even really about dealing with her aunt or uncle. It was about dealing with her fear. Satoshi faced his fear. He could have chosen to run from it, or sit and take it, but he fought for his little sister instead. He fought that fear and didn't falter. What was Satoko doing? She believed that the violence she was suffering was the punishment she deserved. However, Rika wasn't wrong. Satoko wasn't trying to gain strength at all. She was only shutting herself out until someone came to save her. She wasn't doing anything on her own. She was only waiting for someone else to do something about it. Satoshi faced it. He faced this fear. That was his strength.
足がすくむ、奥歯が震える、背中の産毛がゾワゾワする。その感触すべてがあなたをかばおうとするたびに、そして分かって、サトシがあなたに何を期待していたか、何を見習って欲しかったか、それが分からなかったら、サトシは永遠に帰ってきたりするもんか。
ん？なんじゃい、長い電話だの。
Satoko was consumed by fear. Teeth were chattering and she felt shivers running down her spine. That was what Satoshi felt every time she cried.
あなたの強さを、この一年でどれほどの強さを得たかをサトシに今こそ見せなさい。サトシのような勇気を今こそあなたの胸に宿しなさい。リカ、でも
Even if she asked for help that very minute, Teppy wasn't just going to disappear. When she asked for help, she needed to survive until someone physically came to her house to rescue her. Satoko ached all over her body. Her wounds were pulsing along with her heartbeat, and she could taste the blood in her mouth. It wasn't as easy as Rika made it sound. One nod wasn't going to solve everything at once. They had no idea how hard it was for her to nod. What did her Nini look like when he protected her? She couldn't remember his face, but she remembered the strength in his words. She even may have heard a little bit of fear in his voice, but even so, he still fought. He faced his fears and fought for her sake. Satoko was scared, just like Rika said. Her teeth were chattering and she felt shivers running down her spine. She had to face him. She had to challenge him, to fight him, and to break the cycle.
Satoko, これから受話器を相談所の人に戻す。あなたの口で伝えなさい。ええ、ええ。あなたの勇気を見てるから。
もしもし、電話を相談所の原山です。もう一度確認いたしますが、哲平さんとのその後の生活は問題ありませんね。
Satoko looked at Teppy again as she listened to the question, straight into the face of terror. All she ever did was hide behind Satoshi's back. Show me that courage. It wasn't only Rika, but her Nini was watching her too.
はい、もう一度お願いします。
私を助けて!
The moment the words left her mouth, Teppy clocked his knees upside her head with every bit of strength he had in him. Satoko rolled down the hallway, still clutching the telephone receiver.
あんどりゃ裏切ったんだ。
あんたなんか大っ嫌い。出てって、ここから出てってくださいまし。ここは私とニーニーの家ですのよ。私たち家族の家ですのよ。あんたなんか大っ嫌い。あんたなんか出ていけ。
かあ、こん野郎。
Satoko wasn't just going to take a beating any longer. Instead, she spread her arms wide and jumped onto her uncle. Of course, that wasn't going to hurt Teppy at all. Satoko was as weak as a newborn puppy to him. That was, however, the best attack she had at her disposal. Satoko was fighting for the first time in her life. She decided to stop waiting for somebody to save her. In the end, Satoko was the only one who could save herself. Enduring her uncle's violence had never meant anything at all. She had thought she'd learned something from her Nini, but she'd been mistaken this whole time. But just as Teppei raised his fist, someone loudly hammered on the front door. Teppei couldn't help but jump in surprise. It had barely been a minute since Satoko asked for help over the phone.
どうでしたか、さとこちゃんは。
さとこちゃんは助けを求めました。これで相談所は動きます。
それより、さとこが危ない。逆上した鉄平がさとこに乱暴するかもしれない。
We'd heard a violent noise right before she asked for help. In other words, Satoko had been brave enough to do that in front of her uncle.
早く行かないと。誰か車を回して。
Several of the villagers who came by car started their engines. The crowd had started to realize what was going on. Damn it. Coming as fast as we can, Satoko.
前原さん、大丈夫ですよ。ついさっき、北条家に警官が突入しました。聡子さんに暴行を加える時間なんて与えません。
どうして？
さて、どうしてでしょうね。とにかく、一件落着なら、この集団解散してくださいよ。それじゃ、ひとまずこの場は失礼します。それでは、良いお年を。
大石は聡子の電話を聞くのと同時に無線でどこかへ連絡していましたです。聡子ちゃんの家の前にあらかじめ警察の人がいてくれたってことなのかな。そっか、リナ殺しの件で警察が張り込んでたわけだ。なるほどね。
リナって誰だ？皆さん、車に乗ってください。早くひなみ沢に戻りましょう。
There were several officers combing the Hojo residence. Satoko was sitting by the porch talking with another officer. She had some painful-looking bruises all over her face.
聡子ちゃん、大丈夫？大丈夫？あははは、これが大丈夫に見えまして。監督、聡子を見てあげてください。
とにかく診療所に運びましょう。聡子ちゃん、自分で歩けますか？
Satoko nodded to Coach and stood up. It looked painful for her, but even so, I felt relieved to see her better than I expected. However, the cruel bruises inflicted on her body were all too horrible to look at. I'll never forgive that man for abusing a little girl like her. My body shivered in anger.
聡子。リカ、見ててくださいまして。私、やるときはちゃんとやるんですのよ。ええ、あなたの勇気。あなたは勝った。運命に打ち勝った。
Both Rika-chan and Satoko cried and hugged each other. As soon as I heard another car coming, I immediately knew who it had to be. Oishi-san's police cruiser.
どうも間一髪にはならなかったようですね。お役に立てなくて申し訳ない。
はい。大石さんが気を利かせてくれなかったらどうなっていたことか。ありがとうございました。
大石のおじさまもたまには気が利くじゃないですか。
それで聡子さんの容体はどんな感じですか？
監督が見てくれています。何でもなければいいんですけど。
ああ、クマちゃん、鉄平はどうしました？
確保しました。さっき小宮山さんたちの車で署へ移したそうです。
じゃあ逮捕されてもうこの家には戻ってこない？
別に逮捕されて死刑とか無期懲役ってわけじゃないだろうからな。考えたくはないけど、いつか戻ってくるんだろ
う。まあそうはさせないけどね。二度とひなみ沢に近づけないようにしてやるさ。
おやおや、園崎家の次期当主が恐ろしいことを言い出しますね。脅迫とかはいけませんよ。
脅迫じゃないですよ。ひなみ沢や沖宮の界隈に帰ってくるときっと大変なことになるだろうから、もしシャバに戻れてもこっちに帰ってこない方がいいですよって忠告。
ああ、忠告なら仕方ありませんね。なはははは。
これでさとこちゃんは本当に救われたの？これで全部？
さてね。急は要さないけど、まだまだいろいろと戦いは続くと思うよ。てっぺんの神剣が喪失すれば新しい後見人を定めなくちゃならない。里子の権利関係とかいろいろね。でもそれは大丈夫。バッチャが腰を上げてくれた以上、園崎本家がバックアップするよ。里子の不利になるようなことには絶対ならない。
さとこは診療所へ行きましたです。でも入江の話では思ったより傷は浅いそうなのです。
そうか、それはよかった。
さとこちゃんは明日にはもう退院できるのかな？
さすがに退院しても全て元通りってことはないだろうね。
違いますですよ、みー。明日は綿流しのお祭りなのです。
なんだか大変な1週間だった気がするけど、もし綿流しのお祭りを全員で迎えられたなら、それって結局ハッピーエンドってことじゃないですか？
I don't think there's gonna end up being a happy ending.
私たちが取り戻したかった世界をようやく取り戻せた証なの。
そうだね。さとこだってケイちゃんの叩き売りはきっと見たいと思うよ。
すっかり忘れていたけど今頃プレッシャーが。
さとこは絶対に来ますですよ。
For I knew that lots of people from the village had joined us. They're the same people who came to the child consultation center to support us. They want to know if Satoko is safe. Considering her injuries, safe may not be the right word. However, she's free from the curse of her uncle now. Her emotional scars will slowly heal. We'll be there for her as her friends. Now, it wasn't just us anymore. The whole village is going to be there for her. The ghost of the dam conflict won't haunt Satoko any longer. It was a very long week. All of this was just 1 week. This 1 week, we united, we fought, we overcame, we won. It wasn't an easy victory. However, the price we paid was more than worth it. Tomorrow is the Minagoroshi festival, the biggest festival in the village. It's a huge event where we worship the guardian of this village, Oyashiro-sama. Oyashiro-sama is a god who unites two enemy peoples. The curse of the Hojo family disappeared, and Satoko is truly going to be a part of the village. We'll all be playing at the festival together. This is a perfect, happy ending. No, it's not. When our ordinary days were taken from us, we all felt so powerless, but now we have everything back. What else can you call that but a miracle? You can't actually call it that. Miracles can be created when everyone works together. What's impossible to do alone becomes impossible when everyone joins forces. Everyone's power, we were able to make impossible things happen. It's a perfect happy ending. I'm sure we didn't trigger any flags by saying that. That's only a natural outcome of everyone doing their best together, so it's not a miracle. In other words, it was inevitable. The old legends in this village tell us that Oyashiro-sama made it possible for humans and demons to live together. Not sure what that story really means, but I'm sure that Oyashiro-sama made something impossible happen. We can be proud of what we did. I'm sure Oyashiro-sama is proud too.
前原の坊主やったな。
やりましたね。
押しかけた甲斐がありました。
My supporters cheered me on. They were all glad that Satoko was finally safe. A sense of accomplishment in saving Satoko finally hit us, and we hugged each other, sharing praises for our struggles.
"傷つけば傷つくほど心は臆病になっていった。悲しい思いが深ければ深いほど幸せを喜ぶ。
I forgot this game had a mid-game poem.
幾千度と繰り返されてきた同じ時間、同じ世界。笑顔を忘れてしまった少女は心に鍵をかけて引きこもるが、その隙間から差し込んでくる光に気づいて顔を上げる。パンドラの希望は本当に存在していたのだろうか。皆殺し。取り戻した勇気とともに明かされた闇の真実。諦めていた未来はすぐ目の前にあった。
Satoko and Rika-chan were already there waiting for me. Well, the injuries on her face, covered with band-aids, looked painful. Satoko seemed to be full of life. It almost looks as though her wounds were from playing too hard or something.
ゆうべは結局診療所に泊まったのか。
ええ、私は全然平気ですのよって言ったんですけど、監督たちが一晩様子を見たいなんておっしゃりますもので。
お医者さんがそうしろって言うんだから素直に従った方がいいと思うけどな。
わかった。診療所で一人でお泊まりするのが怖かったんでしょう。夜の診療所には成仏してない霊がいっぱいいるそうだからね。
さとこは僕と一緒でないと眠れない体になってしまったのですよ。はあ、どうして一緒じゃないと眠れないのかな。
それはですね、一人だと怖い夢を見てとんでもない寝言を。
No sooner had Shion finished that sentence than a bucket went flying into her face. Satoko started chasing Shion in circles like they were playing tag. I really missed this rambunctious fun.
こんな当たり前の風景がもう取り戻せないかもしれないって思う。
そうだな。でもな、取り返したぜ。俺たちでな。
主に頑張ったのは圭一だと思いますですよ。圭一が相談所に訴えようと自分で言い出して、圭一がみんなで押しかけようと言ってみんなに声をかけたのです。
そうだね。ケイちゃんが最大の功労者であるのは私も認めるよ。今回の一件でひなみ沢に前原圭一ありってのはだいぶ知れ渡ったと思うからね。
はあ、圭一くん有名になってモテモテになっちゃうのかな。
そりゃあモテモテになるね。婦人会のおばさま方にチヤホヤされちゃうよ。モテる男はつらいね。
I'd be fine with that if I could divide their ages by 3. Many people were wearing yukatas. It was still June, but it felt more like the middle of summer. Once we finished climbing the stairs, we could see the festival and the crowd enjoying it. The Frude Shrine was packed with people leaving the grounds, looking nothing like their usual quiet selves. Lanterns of various colors were hung about, and people were swarming the various festival booths, giving the whole place an unorganized yet pleasant atmosphere.
すげえ人だな。ひなみ沢ってこんなに人がいたんだ。
Do we have to make a saving throw, Samuses?
綿流しのお祭りはみんな来るよ。 多分ひなみ沢の人の半分くらいは来てるんじゃないかな。
それだけじゃないよ。近隣の町の町会や子供会も招待してる。
そうだよな。俺たちの学校あれしか生徒いないのに、今日は子供の姿がやたらたくさんある。
お祭りの賑やかさはやっぱり子供の賑やかさだからね。
She's right. I'm in agreement there. There were lots of booths around too. They were by far the best part of the festival. Booths selling takoyaki, yakisoba, shaved ice, apricot candy, sauce senbei, chocolate bananas. There was a yo-yo game, a goldfish game, a shooting gallery. There were countless booths here.
露天商は町からわざわざ来てくれてるんだよ。やっぱりこういうのがないとお祭りは盛り上がらないよね。
で、それを俺たちは荒らして回るわけか。どんな勝負にせよ、俺は負けないぜ。
そうだね。頑張ろう。
ハロロン、遅れて申し訳ないです。私がビリでした？ならこれで全員揃いましたね。
このメンバーが揃うとのんびりお祭りを楽しもうということにはなりませんのね。
そりゃそうだよ。今年も行くよ。綿流し祭、6人か。六強爆投。
さとこ、今年は気兼ねしないで思いっきり楽しみましょうなのです。頼まれなくても気兼ねなどしませんわ。大暴れさせていただきますのよ。
よっしゃサトコ、その意気だぜ。
昨日までのことなんか今夜で吹き飛ばしちゃいましょう。
今日はみんなで思いっきり遊ぼう。全員が揃うなんて1週間ぶりだもんね。
そうさそうさ、今夜は全員で祭りを遊び倒すよ。
Yeah, they're skipping through the actual events that have happened because we've covered them to death in the previous 6 world lines. So we ran around frolicking. A lot of people approached Satoko. Some were concerned for injuries, some sympathized with how she'd been treated so far, some even insisted she could rely on them if ever in need. And all of that must have been disconcertingly fresh for Satoko, who wasn't used to it. Satoko said that all the unusual kindness was making her feel uncomfortable instead. I knew she was just being shy. Right now, this was just what it took for Satoko to truly feel something reborn.
おや皆さん、早速はしゃぎ回っているようですね。
やあ、リカちゃん、約束通りに来たよ。盛大に盛り上がってるね。
どちら様でございますのかしら。リカの知り合いですの？赤坂は肝心な時にいなくて使えないのです。
なんだろう。私、怒らせるようなことをしましたか？
実はですね、赤坂さんが温泉へ行かれているほんの1週間ほどの間にですね、とても大変なことが。
はあ、リカちゃん、その人っておもちゃ屋さんで会った人だよね。よね。
ああ、そういえば大石さんと一緒にいたね。この人も警察の関係者さん？
When Akasaka had arrived, I believed what it took to change fate was the power of an influential individual, or so I thought, but it turned out that was a misunderstanding. Individuals don't make miracles. Everyone must come forward to make them happen. That's when I thought I could defeat fate as long as I had Akasaka by my side. It was all in my head. Even if he had been there by my side, we probably wouldn't have been able to do anything, so it only would have disappointed ourselves. I'm not saying that Akasaka was at fault. That's not the point at all. Maybe even considered him useless, perhaps. Even I'm rather astonished at my foul-mouthedness. Let's forget about such things tonight. It's been a couple of decades. Why not celebrate our reunion instead? So a few decades, meaning in terms of world lines, because she's lived somewhere between 100 to 200 years worth of worlds. In all those world lines, she literally hasn't seen him for 10 plus years. Even though I think in chronological time it's been 3 or 4 years since she would have seen him. Please don't say we're into old ladies.
リカが何を言ってるかわかりませんが、どうせろくな意味ではありませんわね。
Keiichi got a lot of attention too, wherever he went. In order to save Satoko, he took the initiative, and hence his leadership abilities were now known throughout the village. Moreover, him persuading the village council and Oreo herself were now legendary tales of his heroism. Everyone had understood just how much Satoko had been ostracized by the whole village. They had also understood how unreasonable it was for it to continue after the damn war was over. Seeing Keiichi's efforts to break through that taboo so refreshingly was a glimpse of a future ahead for the village. I couldn't read the rest. With that said, now Keiichi Maibara had become the hot topic among the Hinamizawan people. Naturally, everyone wanted a glimpse of this Maibara Keiichi, and hence the bargain auction saw an unprecedented turnout. Even though he started off red-faced, once he got over his shyness, Keiichi showed his true colors, eliciting rapturous cheers from the crowd. And with sheer energy and momentum, the Watanagashi of Showa 58 of that day came home to a special fervor that was never... This was too fast. Even after this, I'm sure Keiichi will continue to steer the village into new adventures to come. Having such a young leader appear has made the village elders rather reassured. I don't know why these aren't stuff I can click through instead of just speeding through it. Literally every other text I'm clicking through.
あ、紹介が遅れてるね。県議会議員をされてる三郎おじさんだよ。こっちは市議会議員をされてる健おじさん。
昨日は来るのが遅くなってすまんかったね。相談所への道を一本間違えちゃってな。
いや、でも頼もしかったです。やっぱり議員は強いですね。
住民の代わりに喧嘩をするのが仕事だからな。強くて当然だわい。
さとこちゃんも無事で本当に良かった。これからは何かあったらいつでも相談してください。必ず味方になりますよ。
I'm curious. No, they never had art style. So did I go through? Yes, remake some. They rubbed Satoko's head while they spoke.
ありがとうございますですわ。
Back in the main tent, having been the last to rush in, were the many influential Sonozakis. They were all folk we became indebted to yesterday. Except Satoko, everyone bowed their heads. Till just a few days ago, everyone present was someone who could have been bad-mouthing the Hojo family. Keiichi had broken through it all, having reflected upon their thoughtless insensitivities. I doubt any of these people would discriminate against Satoko again. In fact, they bowed their heads, apologizing for their actions, and promised their assistance if anything were to come up in the future.
本当に立派なお子さんをお持ちで羨ましいですな。
いえいえ、ケイイチなんてとんでもない。お、ケイイチ、お父さんたちも来たぞ。
ああ、ケイイチ君のご両親だ。こんばんは。はじめましてなのです。ケイイチのニャーニャーをしておりますリカなのです。どうもはじめましてですわ。北条聡子と申します。
I love how Rika just does not care. Like, yeah, I'm his cat.
あなたがさとこちゃんね。こんなにひどい怪我をして本当にかわいそうに。
今後も何かあったら圭一をぜひこき使ってやってください。それと引き換えと言ってはなんですが。
Please no, Dad.
お嬢さん、ぜひ今度モデルに。
なんだか監督と近い属性を感じるお父様ですわね。
すまん、こういう親父なんだ。
でも温かくて楽しそうなお父様でしたよ。
Wait, why does Satoko have 4 arms? Are we secretly living near like a nuclear plant? I think we should move out, Keiichi. We're gonna grow more arms. So I'm just writing down Satoko grows 4 arms. We're at 1 hour 43 minutes. It's been a long time since we've had a glitch to take in. My guess is all they did is they rendered both character models directly on top of each other, but that her body doesn't really change a whole lot, but only her arms do. And because they rendered both on top, you have like the one set of arms coming and then the other. She must be forewarned. She's forearmed. Oh no. Crap, I should have checked if the other... Oh crap, I'm gonna have to read this now. Keiichi's parents were also at the festival. They made quite the fuss of having such a magnificent son, being the parents of today's hero. According to Keiichi, since his parents rarely left the house from being busy, Keiichi's father had proudly volunteered to make posters for the town council the need ever rose. I heard from Keiichi the posters his father makes are so good that people steal them. I'm looking forward to see what kind of posters they are. Is that the end of it? What I was gonna say is I should have checked to see if the other art styles had 4 arms. I'm gonna guess no.
そうね、私も初めてよ。というか、あんたの方が長生きしてるんだもの。あんたが初めてなら、私にとっても初めてに決まってるじゃない？でもきっと綿流しという名前のお祭りになってからの中でも一番賑やかで楽しいお祭りだと思いますのです。そもそも綿流しのお祭りが楽しいお祭りになったのはここ明治以降は退屈な古出家の儀式だし、それ以前は鷹の好みのお祭りだったはず。ごめん、今日は意地悪はなしね。楽しみましょう、私たちも。私とあなたを祭る夜なんだから。
I heard Hanyu whisper in disbelief that only recently there was a world where Shion tortured Satoko to death. That horrific world, this happy ending world, it's all the same, Hinamizawa. I'm sure that the people who only know this world believe unwaveringly that Hinamizawa was destined to have a happy ending. Only Hanyu and I know, only the bystanders know. But here in Hinamizawa, behind a membrane so thin, that was even thinner than a goldfish catching that cheese. Which is why I'm certain that we understand better than anybody else just how much of a blessing this world is. Keiichi and the others gave into their temper. Without fighting side by side, this day would never have come. If Keiichi lost his temper, he would have committed a crime today. Same goes for Shion. She would be a criminal by today. Around the case, she would already be 3 moves ahead and would have finished the burial by now. Only Mion never really refused. I'm not sure whether to call it prudent or cowardly. Of course, there was an actual world where I lost it. I kept ending up getting myself killed. How hopeless. Anyway, none of those worlds are any good. We weren't able to take back our happy world. So I'd given up hope, but nobody else had. We all united to bring about the miracle that needed to happen. A miracle happened because everyone united. We have not won. This might come across as self-aggrandizing, but I don't think that there would have been a miracle if even I had just given up and denied unity. During that last call, if I hadn't taken away the phone receiver from Keiichi, that's it. The miracle couldn't have happened without everybody coming together. The miracle that wouldn't have been if even one of us had given up. Thanks to Keiichi, taught me how easy it is to break through fate. I, who had given up from the onset. Everything is fate, and there's a meaning to Keiichi's existence. Just what was it trying to tell me? I already knew. The meaning of resisting fate and the means to fight it. Never again will I give in to fate. Not once more. The mere opposite of what Hanyu told me, not to hold expectations for anything. Even Hanyu must be able to cause some sort of miracle. She just believed without giving up. Or so I tried telling her, but she's stubborn at the oddest times, evaded me with a simple ow ow. Why can't they just put that on a nice background and let me click through it? There was at least 5 or 6 lines that I completely missed. But no, we haven't won. This isn't even the end of this game, and there's another game that follows it. Okay, so we have one new tip, and then we're on to the final chapter of this game. This is a faded notebook. Watch therefore, for ye know not what hour your Lord doth come. But know this, that if the good man of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched, he would not have suffered his house to be broken up. Therefore be ye also ready, for in such an hour as ye think not of the Son of Man cometh. Even God doth know when he will descend once more. He is constantly prepared for that day to come. Have faith in your God at all times. Your God doesn't even know when he'll see the light. Do not spare any effort. Study hard every day. Have the passion for discovery. You never know when you'll be rewarded, but the day will come for sure. Until then, you must let the fires of your passion burn bright. Fumi T. Fumi. I have to Google this one. I don't remember who this character is. That was a reference to a parable Jesus told. Ifumi Rashi. Well, I'm not going to say who that is, because that is kind of a spoiler. But on to the last chapter.
Ah, そんなことを言ってたね。でもどうしてだい？どうして僕と高野さんが殺されなきゃならないんだい？
あらあら、私たちが5年目のたたりに名前を連ねられるなんて名誉な話よ。
I expected. It didn't really take to me telling them that they'd be killed on the night of the festival seriously. They did keep their promise to tighten up my security after I showed them the ritual storehouse. However, they hadn't given one thought to their own safety. Oh well. Like I said, I didn't expect them to believe me. They were willing to take me seriously. I could have changed their fate a long time ago.
富武は喉をかきむしって、高野はどこか遠くの山奥で焼かれて死にますです。
喉をかきむしるって、それはレベル5の末期症状のことかい？大丈夫だよ。僕はちゃんと注射を受けてる。そんなことはありえないよ。
私だってあんまりね。どこか遠くの山奥で焼死なんて。それがあなたの夢の中に出てきたというの？
今夜だけでもどうか気をつけてほしいのです。騙されたと思ってどうか僕の言うことを聞いてはくれませんですか？
私たちの身に迫る何かというのも夢のお告げなのかしら。大丈夫よ。あなたの身辺は山犬がちゃんと警護しているわ。今日だって8人があなたの近辺を警護しているのよ。
ありがとうです。僕の警護は十分助かっています。ですから高野たちも同じく用心してほしいのです。
心配してくれてありがとう。大丈夫だよ。こう見えても体は鍛えてるんだ。降りかかる火の粉くらいはちゃんと払える。
Umatake has always been ripped. I think he's fine in that regard. Umatake flexed his biceps and smiled. Probably trying to make me feel better, but all he really did was make me feel sadder. This is the sad part about being me. I know the future, but I can't tell them. as if that was a rule of the world. People tend not to believe what I tell them.
死ぬのです。富武と高野が死ねば、次は僕が殺されるのです。二人が死んだら誰が僕を守ってくれるのですか？
どうも相当悪い夢を見たみたいね。大丈夫よ。もし万が一私たちが死ぬようなことがあっても、山犬があなたを警護するわ。
山犬は本当に僕を守ってくれるのでしょうか？守ってくれた試しはないのです。
そんなことないわ。あなたがふっかけた喧嘩にも現れたでしょ。あなたの近辺を常に警戒してくれているわ。もちろん平時にはそこまでの警戒はしていないけれど、先日のあなたの要望以来、入江所長の警護よりも厳重なくらいよ。
富武と高野が死んだ後もその
無論よ。あなたの身ほど大事なものはないんだから。
僕たちは今夜殺されてしまうともう決まっているのかい？参ったな。
富武に生き残る意志がないのなら、死んだ後の私の身にしか興味がないです。
My words must have left a mark on his heart. He looked much more serious after I said that to him.
やれやれ。わかったよ。せいぜい今夜気をつけるよ。沖宮へ戻るときは僕にも警護をつけることにする。
二人の時に襲われるのだと思います。だから今夜二人きりになってはダメなのです。
あらあら、焼いてるのかしら、おませさんね。
Like I thought, I can't change their fate. When we saved Satoko, everyone shared the same sense of urgency, so we all got together and saved her before it was too late. However, these two have no sense of urgency at all. How can I make them understand? I sighed and gave up.
高野、さようなら。今日までありがとうでした。
ちょっと待ちなよ、リカちゃん。
I had nothing else to say to them now. Instead, it might be worth talking to someone else. Get someone else to protect them. I might be able to change something. I can't give up yet. Fate is as thin as a piece of paper. It's like the lid on a jar of jam. It's not going to open unless you believe it will. I have to believe that I can change my fate. If I don't, it's not going to change.
富武さんと高野さんがですか？それは本当ですか？
Told Irie about this so many times in the past. Irie tends to listen to me more seriously than Tomitake and Takano do. However, that doesn't mean you can actually do something about it.
お城様の巫女の僕が嫌な予感がするから。では、理由になります。
わかりました。そうおっしゃるなら。
I mean, we already know at this point he's a dude from the Japanese military disease prevention undercover. So he's jacked because he's part of the military.
今夜そんな事件があれば5年目のたたりということになってしまいます。
Sure, oddly jacketed photographer. I'm pretty sure at times he's taking photos and the cap still on his camera lens.
お二人には注意するよう私からも伝えましょう。
All Irie would end up doing would be warning the two of them, which is exactly the same thing as what I did. In other words, it wouldn't matter in the least. Irie is just a researcher. He has no ability to deal with unexpected trouble. But Takano works for him after all.
くれぐれもよろしくお願いしますです。ペコリ。
Who else would treat me seriously? Who would be able to prevent Tomitake and Takano's death? That's right, there's one man who's been fighting the curse of Oishiro-sama with all his might.
あれ？フルデスさん？探してたんですよ。赤坂さんがぜひお別れの挨拶をしたいと言って探してたんですが。
つくづく赤坂とは肝心な時に縁がないのです。
先日の温泉の件をずいぶん恨まれているようですね。赤坂さんも何も恩返しができなかったことを。
Specifically, Oishi says that you're upset that he went to the onsen and the hot springs instead.
長い休みが取れたら改めてひなみ沢に行きたいと言っていました。 それを奥さんに勘違いされちゃったみたいで。可愛いけど、あの奥さん、家に帰ると怖い人なんだろうな。
From what I've seen, usually photographers have like something where they can like have pockets to put stuff in, and he just has like the undershirt shirt.
大石、実は大切な話があるのですが、誰も信じてく。
いかがなさいましたか？
I've spoken to him several times in the past too. He usually takes me pretty seriously. However, after they die, he starts suspecting me. That's why I stopped talking to him.
それをどこで聞いたんですか？どの辺で？
Told him that I heard someone talking about murdering them in the crowd. That way, he might not be suspicious of me after the murder really happens.
確かに。富武さんはよそ者だし、高野さんと合わせれば2人。1人が死んで1人が消えるか。確かに5年目のたたりとしてはあってもおかしくなさそうですね。デマの可能性もありますが、わかりました。ダメでもともと。お二人をマークさせましょう。
襲うなら、ひなみ沢と沖宮の間の道だとも言っていたように思いますです。
Mitake's body will be found on the road leading out of the village. From what I remember, he's discovered where the concrete road turns to gravel.
わかりました。車を1台張り付かせましょう。そのくらいの余裕はありますので。
He agreed to get involved, and he wasn't suspicious of me either. Sure, it seems odd to people that Oishi actually believed this phony-sounding story of mine. The thing about Oishi is that he strongly believes that there's no smoke and there's no fire. I've learned from experience that he tends to believe my information. However, that personality of his caused me so much trouble in previous worlds. Of course, there's no question why he's so eager to believe me either. This is his last chance to expose the curse of Oishiro-sama before his retirement. Even if it might be fake, he still wanted to believe it. That was convenient for me, since I couldn't show proof.
くまちゃん、聞こえますか聞こえますか？沖宮への帰り道の途中にパトを1台張り付かせてください。いえ、単なる警戒です。良くないことがそこら辺で起こるかもしれないという噂が入りまして。2人程度でいいでしょう。お願いいたします。
ありがとうです。誰も僕のことを信じてくれないので困っていたところなのです。
それを信じるのが警察です。何事もなければむしろ無事を喜ぶべきじゃないですか。出動を空振りこれを喜べ。私の先輩の言葉です。それにせっかくのタレコミ情報を見過ごして事件を防げなかったらこれほど悔しいことはありませんからね。
I see. That's his way of thinking about things. That's why he believed me without question. I hope he won't consider me a suspect after they find their bodies tomorrow. I shouldn't worry about that now. I can still do more. Who else should I talk to? Should I talk to my friends? I can't give up. I should at least try.
まさかそんな物騒なことを言ってる人がいるのかい？よりにもよってこの日に不謹慎だな。
あれか？今日起こるかもしれないって噂のお社様のたたりってやつか？
Yeah, it is pretty solid advice.
連続4年起こってるからね。やっぱり今夜も起こるかもしれないと思ってる人も少なくないみたいだね。
怒ると思うのは勝手でございますけど、富武さんと高野さんを名指しするなんて失礼な話ですわね。富武さんと高野さんにも念のため伝えた方がいいんじゃないかな。もう伝えましたですが、信じてもらえなかったです。
そりゃそうだろうな。でも万が一何かあった後じゃ遅いしな。大石さんに話した方がいいんじゃないか？
もちろんもう話しましたです。
へえ、リカちゃまはなかなか手際がいいじゃないですか。でも確かに用心に越したことはないです。今夜だけは。ひなみ沢村連続開始事件、通称お社様のたたり。はっきり言って何年も続かれちゃ困るんだよね。 面白がって模倣するバカも出てくるし、何より村のイメージダウンにしかならない。
つまり今夜何も起こらなければそれで連続はついえるわけだろ。なら今夜起こらないように何かすればいいわけだ。
なんかって何ですの？悪いことが起こらないように村中で見回りでもしますの？
見回りなんかしたらかえって不用心な気がします。そもそも手の打ちようなんてあるんですか？一応綿流しの準備会の方では連続開始事件を模倣しようとする変質者が紛れ込む可能性もあるので、見かけない顔には警戒しようってことになってる。
ひなみ沢はよその人の顔はわかるからね。見慣れない人がいたらすぐわかる。だからきっと大丈夫だと思うけどな。でもそれでもきっと富武と高野は殺されるのです。リカちゃん、そうだね。私たちにもできることをしてみようよ。
そうだな。一晩中を護衛はできないだろうけど、せめて祭りが終わるまでの間近くにいようぜ。人が近くにいれば悪い連中もおいそれと手出しはできねえだろ。
I'm sure 6 children won't stop bad people from murdering adults. I couldn't tell if they really believe me or not, but they listened to me at least. I had to keep our eyes on Tomitaka and Takano and protect them for the rest of the night. Guess I've done everything I can now. It's hard to believe that this is enough to prevent their deaths.
明日目が覚めた時、何も起こっていないかどうかね。リカは富武たちの死を防げると思っていますですか？無理かもしれない。やはりあの二人が死ぬのは私の命運が尽きることを知らせる時計の時報なのかもしれない。でもさっき高野も言った。山犬が私への警護を厳重にしてくれているから、仮にあの二人が殺されても私は無防備とはならないかもしれない。そうしてる間に東京から応援も来るだろうしね。いつものように富武たちが殺されたとしても、その後の状況はそれでもダメなら潔く死ぬしかないわね。とにかく今回は最後の最後まで諦めない。あがける限りあがく。どうせ無駄だから残りの時間をワインで過ごすなんて。リカの好きなようにするといいのです。羽生は相変わらずどうせダメだと思ってる？僕はいいもダメもないです。あるがままが運命ですから。期待するから心が痛むか。
I'm an actress trying to get up on the stage. Hanyu is a real bystander. We have very different opinions when it comes to this.
リカ、何があってもどうか気を落とさないで。なんだか今回もどうせダメだって遠回しに言われてるみたいね。最近あんたと話してるとイラつくことが多いわ。
I understand. Honey keeps telling me not to get my hopes up because she cares about me. So I hope to defeat fate. I get hurt when my hope is betrayed. The more I get hurt, the closer I get to losing my mind and disappearing. For Hanyu, that means losing our only friend. Very transparent. Losing me is probably the most unbearable thought for Hanyu, since she has to live alone, unable to communicate with anyone else. I now believe that fate can be changed. Even when I didn't have that faith, I still believed that eventually I'd find a way to get out of this maze. Perhaps Hanyu knows something I don't? I might just be a goldfish inside of a fishbowl. There might be no way for me to escape my fate. I'm stuck alone inside of a fishbowl, yet every day I knock on the glass, believing I can break it someday. Hanyu keeps telling me that I'm wasting my time. If I get hurt and die, she'd have to survive all by herself inside the fishbowl. That, I think I finally understand our difference of opinions. Hanyu's lived for a much longer time than I have. Because of that, she understands the laws of this infinitely spanning world better than I do. No matter how much I refute Hanyu, I can never refute the truth. Even so, I still have to believe in my own faith. I believe in a spear that will pierce the wall of fate. My faith will make that spear sharper than ever. We found Tomitake in a crowd and struck up a conversation with him to keep him around as long as we could. However, as soon as the festival ended, they tried to leave. They left now. I'd never see them again. Ian tried insisting they stay at her house for the night. Tomitake refused. Everyone tried various ways, stop them from being alone, all because the murder might be around. They missed ways to stop them. However, we eventually started to believe that they want to be alone for adult reasons. I wound up suggesting that we shouldn't interrupt the two lovebirds. Yeah, I just hope next time we see him he isn't dead.
富武のおじさまだって男だよ。いざとなれば高野さんのために獅子奮迅の活躍をしてくれるよ。
そうよね。私に危機があったら二郎さんが体を張って守ってくださるのよね。
At least you die happy.
じゃあ私たちはもう行こう。もうだいぶ遅いよ。
ありがとうね。気を利かせてくれて。
くれぐれも誤解しないでくれよ。
Okay, how bad was his jacket originally? Oh gosh, that's awful.
僕は診療所に忘れ物をしてるんだ。
I can't remember the last time I looked at his original artwork.
それで診療所の鍵は高野さんが持ってるから高野さんと一緒に診療所に行くんだよ。
Yeah, it's pretty bad. So, we're playing a modded version of this game, which has a bunch of changes, most notably the character models here. But this was the original artwork for the characters. It later got redone for, I think it was PlayStation 3 and PSP, which had this version, which also has their mouths move in time to their lines. Yeah, so you can see right there, she mouths the words she's saying. That's the only advantage over it. But I prefer this version, the modern version.
違うよシオン。きっとナース服着てもらって撮影会なんだよ。
服でどんな写真撮るんだろう。
がっちり理解できてるなら照れ隠しに殴るのはやめろ。
Yeah, and like, not, oh, geez, some of them are just awful. Not all the characters have them. There's some of the more minor characters, like some of our classmates that don't appear too often. They actually didn't have original artwork, so it's just like a blank space for them, and they only have artwork in like the modern versions. Because I'm pretty sure the original artwork was done by the game developer at the start, and then later, when it got picked up by like an actual company, when it wasn't an indie game anymore and it got redone, then they had better artists and musicians come in and redo basically everything.
じゃあね、みんな。本当に忘れ物を取りに戻るだけだからね。ついてきちゃダメだよ。
富武、本当に用心するのですよ。理科の心配しすぎではございませんね。
The original first like release of this game, not this one specifically, but the first one in the series, on their like opening Comic-Con weekend, I think sold, it was like 6 or 8 copies total. Like that was it. Everyone laughed and Satoko yawned. It seemed like a good time to call it a day. Except for the two lovebirds, they'll be going all night. Doesn't feel like I was able to change their fate. I just hope they pay attention and they're prepared for whatever faces them. I still might have a chance. All I can do now is pray.
それじゃあ富武さん、またぜひその時は写真を見せてくださいね。
その罰ゲームのシャツ、ぜひ着てきてくださいね。
よっ、美女との一夜、羨ましいね。ヒューヒュー。
またねみんな。次に会うのは秋頃かな。
私たちが今夜殺されなければね。それじゃみんな、おやすみなさい。
おやすみなさい。
That was the best I could do in the night of Minagoroshi. The heck was that? Why did he just like... Gotta make a note of that one as well. So that's, please tell me what happened this night, because like a box with a cat... This is like a box with a cat inside. Please tell me what happened this night. I don't know if the cat is alive or dead inside the box. Please tell me what happened this night. The cat in the box is dead. Great. I'm pretty sure that was the same thing we read at the very start. I'm just typing that in, so that was 2 hours, 13 minutes. We had two nice glitches so far. Tomitake gathered up his paperwork and slipped it inside his bag.
嫌にしつこかったね。そんなに僕らに死んでほしいのかな。
夢の話とはいえ迷惑な話よね。
入江所長にリカちゃんの検査を念入りに行った方がいいと言っておいてください。夢見の悪さは何かの予兆かもしれない。リカちゃんに何かあったら大変なことになるからね。
Takano touched Tomitake's hand gently. He turned bright red. Takano moved him closer and spoke. The way she acts is just too sexy, Tomitake thought.
ねえ、次郎さん。とても真面目な話があるの。聞いてくださる？
なんだい？高野さんまで真面目な話があるってのかい？まさか高野さんまで僕が喉をかきむしって死ぬ夢を見たなんていうのはなしだよ。
そのまさかだとしたら？
え
Takano stared at him with a mischievous look, as if seducing him. I mean, his pants are already camo, meaning we can't see them. Started whispering into his ear.
驚いているのよ。あの子には本当に神通力があるのかもしれないってね。
それはどういうことだい？
Takano smiled gently and pulled her hair back. Even seeing her do that made Tomitake's heart race.
あなたのことが好きよ。
それは光栄だな。
Takano's fingers curled around Tomitake's chin, stroking, tickling, and caressing it. Her movements were very captivating and seductive, and I hope the game doesn't make me read out anything I really don't want to.
私には合わなかった。あなたのような固くて真面目な人が
We played a lot of things in this game, and I've yet to have to censor anything.
あなたなら私のすべてを受け止めてくれる。私のことを本当に理解してくれるって信じられるの。だからあなたにならミヨのすべてを捧げられる。私のすべてをあなたに抱き受けてもらいたいの。この気持ちがわかるかしら？
高野さん、急にどうしたんだい？
Her voice didn't really sound that affectionate. Tomitake knew from experience that he couldn't grasp what was on her mind when she wore a cold smile like that.
いよいよなの。もうじきなの。
Not so quickly? It's okay. Seems as though she couldn't wait for something to happen. There was a chilling allure to her strange smile that made one question if something exciting was really about to happen.
何がもうじきなんだい?
Mitake asked, trying hard to resist the temptation.
夢が叶う日が。
君の夢?
そう、私の夢。話したことがあったわよね。それとも私なんかが話したことは記憶に残らないのかしら。
いや、覚えてるよ。
Apparently she's already been getting it.
君の夢。
Mitake's response was vague. Either he didn't remember or he hadn't understood it very well.
いよいよお社様のたたりが現実のものとなる日がやってくる。その日こそが私の子供の頃からの夢が叶う日。次郎さん、聞いて。私はもうあなたと一緒にはいられないの。
え？それはどういう意味だい？
あなたと私は違う世界に住む存在なの。ここ、ひなみ沢は人の世と鬼の世の接点。だから、日の当たる世界のあなたと、日の当たらない世界の私が出会えた。でも、もうそれが終わるの。陽光の降り注ぐ日中に訪れた束の間の月食が、日の当たる世界の人間と、日の当たらない世界の鬼を引き合わせた。私が何を言っているかわかるかしら。
高野さん、まだビールが抜けないのかい？酔ってるね。
お別れの夜が来たの。日の当たる世界を教えてくれてありがとう。あなたの温かさは日だまりの温かさだったわ。騙し合ったり疑い合ったりしない本当に温かい関係だった。だからあなたと別れるのがとても惜しい。
She pulled herself away from Tomitake and slowly stepped back, as if signaling the time had come for them to
君が
part.
何を言っているのかわからない。何の話なんだい、高野さん。
だからあなたに選んでほしい。私のそばにいることを選んで、日の当たる世界のすべてを捨てる勇気を見せてほしい。あなたが私の耳元でささやいてくれたことがどれも本当だったなら、次郎さんに戸惑いはないはず。
By that time, Tomitake understood that Takano was asking him to make an important decision.
君は
そのまさかなの、次郎さん。
Tomitake got up from his seat and looked Takano straight in the eyes. There was a faint glimmer of hostility within those eyes.
私より仕事が大事なの。やっぱり。
信じられない。君のことを信じていたのに。
Those words were ones of rejection. Takano's lips twisted into a cruel smile.
お社様は人と鬼を融和したそうだけど、そのお社様でも私とあなたを融和することはできなさそうね。
Takano slowly opened the door. 6 men in overalls were standing there at the ready. Tomitake was frozen in shock. The 6 men walked up to Tomitake with no expressions on their faces. It was immediately obvious that they were going to do something to harm him.
これは何の真似だ？
ひなみ沢症候群は導火線に火がついた爆弾と同じ。それが爆発する前に東京はあなたに爆弾を解体してしまうことを命じた。でもね、東京には この爆弾が派手に爆発して欲しがっている人もいるの。
バカな。そんなことをして誰が何の得をするんだ。
得のないことをする人なんてこの世にはいないわ。損得があるからベクトルが生まれる。だから私を前にそれを問うことは無意味ね。
信じられない。そんなバカなことを考えている連中がいるのかい。ひなみ沢症候群はとても危険な病気であることは君も知っているはずだ。
そうよ。爆発すればとても大変なことになる。だからこそ東京も失態を隠しきれない。
君はその連中に買収されたというのか。
元からそういう目的で送り込まれているの。申し訳ないわね。出会った時から私とあなたは住む世界が違ったの。
それで僕をどうするつもりだ。
あなたの協力があれば私の仕事はとても楽になるわ。もちろんそれはあなたにとっては裏切り行為にあたる。
僕に寝返れというつもりか。
次郎さん、私に囁いてくれた愛が本当なら黙って私に協力してはくださらないかしら。もちろん報酬は望みのまま。あなたが私を望むならば一生あなたに捧げてあげる。あなたが望むとき、あなたの望むところであなたの望むように、ね、私はあなただけのもの。あなたのためだけに独り占めをしていいのよ。私もあなたにならあなただけの女になってあげてもいい。ねえ、私の心にあなた自身を住まわせてみたいとは思わない？
Her words were a kind of assault, directly hammering at the emotions men had difficulty resisting. I don't like that sentence. They were like an evil spell to control his heart. On hearing them, Tomotaki felt an unknown sensation rush up his spine as his feet froze in place, entranced. However, he forced himself to resist the temptation. He sealed the cracks in his wall of reason to stop Takano from forcefully entering his heart.
断る。
She'd known from the start that Tomotaki was going to refuse her. Even so, Takano let out a triumphant laugh. It's funny. I thought Tomotaki would refuse right away. However, it took him a while to refuse because of how effective she was at seducing him. The time it took him to refuse her was one of victory for Takano. Tomotaki, it was a time of humiliation. Takano continued to laugh. She sounded rather like an evil witch.
そう言うと思ったわ。それでこそ私の大好きな次郎さんよ。
Okay, this is a new guide. Yep, he had original artwork. Takano raised up her right hand and gave a signal to the mountain dogs.
君も願ったのか。
失礼しますね、富武ニードの。
次郎さんも鈍いわね。山犬は初めから私の部下よ。この診療所は最初から私たちが掌握している。知らないのはあなたと入江所長だけよ。
くそ。
Mutake moved into action, sensing the danger that was about to befall him. Fist thrust out as quick as lightning, knocking one of the men down before he could even blink. But the other mountain dogs certainly were just going to stay there and watch. They all attacked him as one. He tried to strike back with an elbow, but he simply couldn't overcome the difference in numbers. Tomotaki tried his best, but soon enough the mountain dogs wrestled him to the ground.
くそー。離せんか。
こいつジタバタすんな。
They pinned him down so that he couldn't move an inch.
次郎さん、6人がかりでも手こずらせるなんて素敵よ。
He kind of walked over and smiled while looking down at Tomotake.
どうせ断るんでしょうけれど、 私の自己満足のためにもう一度聞かせてね。やっぱり意見を変えて私の味方になってはくれないのかしら。
無駄だ。君の仲間にはならない。
その一言が欲しかったの。私の未練を断ち切るためにね。
Mikana was holding a small case in her hands. She opened it and showed Tomitake what was inside.
その注射は。
いやね。想像がついてるくせに。
バカな。すべて破棄したはず。
次郎さん、あなたはこう思っているでしょう。たとえ破棄した例の注射だとしても、自分は予防薬を投与済みだから注射されても免疫があるはず。そうでしょ。だから怯えてないのよね。あなたが今回ひなみ沢に来た時に投与された予防薬はね、違うのよ。あなたは今自覚してないだろうけども、すでにレベル3クラスで感染してる立派なひなみ沢症候群の潜在患者なの。次郎さん、注射するとき目を背ける癖があるでしょ。ダメよ。自分に何の注射がされてるか毎回ちゃんと確認した方がいいわよ。
くそー、離せや。
Tomitake struggled to get away, but he simply couldn't move. On seeing his sorry state, Takano laughed with glee.
H173 は次郎さんもよくご存知のはずよね。投与することで感染し、かつ興奮状態を誘発することで疑似的にレベル5を発症させる。どれだけ劇的な効果があったかは次郎さんもご覧になってたんじゃないかしら。被験者は盛んに頸部液下のかゆみを訴えていたわね。過去の症例の文献から見ると、どうもレベル5発症時にリンパ節に異常なかゆみを訴えるケースがあるみたい。抗原抗体反応の一種かもしれないわね。だから次郎さん、あなた運が良ければリカちゃんが予言した通りの死に方ができるわよ。自傷で自ら死ぬか、それとも脳を憎悪で焼かれて廃人になるか、あなたはどちらになるのかしらねえ次郎さん。
やめろ、やめろ。
これじゃあお注射は難しいわね。眠らせてあげて。
One of the men covered Tomitake's mouth with a towel soaked in some kind of chemical. He tried to fight it off with all his might, but his strength eventually left him, and he became as quiet as a beached whale. Kano stroked his face to make sure he couldn't resist. Then she brought the needle towards his throat. He pushed it right into his skin. As she squeezed down on the syringe's plunger, the skin surrounding the tip of the needle swelled up, and eventually the contents were absorbed into his body.
さよなら、次郎さん。次に目が覚めるときは楽しい悪夢の世界にいるのかしらね。
Mountain Dogs finally got off him. He couldn't even twitch. Twitch can't even twitch. Twitch doesn't understand how it works.
誰か彼を私の車のトランクに運んで。
Two of the men lifted up Tomitake and carried him outside.
そうそう。彼の愛用の自転車も一緒だときっと喜ぶでしょうね。地獄へ行っても好きなだけサイクリングができる。
Mountain Dogs all quietly laughed at the joke.
ではこれより終末作戦を開始します。
So, who had the nurse as the villain? They stopped laughing as she began to speak.
お好みは以後の連絡を待て。入江所長から目を離すな。あと、フルで理科にも注意してね。どんな第六感か知らないけど、少なくとも彼の死に方だけは当てたわ、あの子。もっと研究したかったけど、残念ね。
了解ですわ。こちらはお任せください。 道中はお気をつけて。
気をつけるほどもない旅よ。ところで入江所長は？
祭りの後の打ち上げ中でしょう。まだ神社の敷地内にいるとのことですね。
あの研究しかできない坊やがどう取り乱すか見れないのが残念ね。
Mountain Dog started laughing again, too. Nano checked the time on her watch. It's nearly 10 p.m. Most people must have left the festival for home. Those people still there were probably enjoying the after-party while getting drunk inside the shrine. It was a good time for her to leave without being seen by anyone.
私も出発するわ。死んでくるわね。
After saying that, she left the clinic alone. She left through the back door, left amid the moonlight, the singing of insects, and the sound of a river. It was a typical night in Hinamizawa. While enjoying all these sensations, Takano got inside her car. Tomitake was sleeping inside the trunk. The bicycle, on the other hand, was loaded onto her back seat. How ironic. Her bicycle has a better seat than you. I'll let you out of there soon. You're leaving by the road that leads to Okonomiya? That'll be a good spot. Takano found a good place to drop him off. She gave up on it as there's a police cruiser parked in the area. Figured that they were probably patrolling to make sure the 5th year's curse didn't happen. Good job, officers. No one would ever suspect that there's a curse packed in my trunk right now. Takano drove onto less lit streets with rougher roads. Eventually, the mountain road ended and she was surrounded by darkness. There were rice fields nearby. She could tell from the sound of the croaking frogs. Takano parked her car by the pitch-black roadside. She had to stop here, otherwise she'd be too close to a residential area. Indeed, she was nearly in Okonomiya. She would have dumped him earlier if the police cruiser had foiled that plan. Takano pulled Tomitake out of the trunk and left him by the road. She also left him his bicycle. Tomitake let out a small groan. Probably wouldn't be long until he woke up.
ジローさん、あなたのギクシャクした恋の語りも楽しかったわ。もっと聞かせてもらいたかったから、とても残念よ。もうじきあなたは目を覚ますわ。その頃には、あなたはレベル5の末期を迎えてる。あなたは錯乱の挙句、きっと哀れな死に方をするでしょうね。氏脇病が語るように、やはりあなたも喉をかきむしって死ぬのかしら。それを観察できないのがとても残念。そしてあなたの異常な死と私の失踪はこの地に5年目のたたりとして刻まれるでしょう。そうしてお社様のたたりはますます強固なものとなって残る。その礎となれるなんて。次郎さん、これはとても名誉なことなのよ。あなたはこれから命ある身を捨てて永遠の存在の一部となれるのだから。
That was her last farewell to Tomitake. Takano got back inside her car and started driving. She could see the place where she left Tomitake in her rearview mirror. It was already shrouded in darkness. Takano drove through the main street of Okonomiya, made a few turns, heading for the dark mountains in the distance. It had been a while since she left Hinamizawa. It was almost midnight. She might have already made it to the neighboring prefecture. It was difficult to tell, because she couldn't really see anything in the darkness. Takano stopped her car in the middle of all that. Yep, she's crazy. I mean, a lot of them go crazy, but she was crazy to begin with. After turning off both the engine and the headlights, there really was nothing but darkness surrounding her. It was as if time itself had stopped. Takano wasn't sure how long she waited, but eventually she saw the headlights of a car blinking twice. She blinked her own headlights back at it. Soon she saw several people walking towards her. 2 men wearing blue overalls knocked on the window of Takano's car. Obligingly, she opened it. They look over her face and the paperwork they had in their hands.
高野よ。
After confirming her identification, they called someone over the radio.
本部どうぞ。ヒナを確保。尾行ないか。
尾行はなし。後方400メートルクリア。
尾行はありません。お疲れ様でした。どうぞ指揮者へ。書類をお預かりします。
書類カバンはトランクの中よ。これが鍵。あとコーヒーがもらいたいわね。入れてくださる？
The command vehicle was a trailer with a bunch of high-tech communication equipment inside. The light of the electrical equipment shone beautifully in the dark. Another man in blue overalls offered her a paper cup.
ありがとう。私の死体の方は大丈夫？
現地にて偽装終了との連絡が入っております。
現地？隣の県の山中でドラム缶に放り込まれて焼け死になのかしら？
死因までは確認させます。
Yeah, you gotta wait till you have your coffee, then you can join a weird group of radicals. Operation Doomsday. That was the name of their mission. It was pretty cliche. The goal of the operation's first stage was Takano's escape from Hinamizawa and the extraction of 18 specific classified documents. That goal had been completed. Assassinating the liaison from Tokyo, Tomitake, was also one of the goals. That one had also been completed in the way Takano had planned. Just not killed that way just because Takano had wanted to see it. It was intentionally planned that way so the office in Tokyo would be suspicious of the Irie Institute. They were trying to create the story that the Institute was upset with the recent budget cuts and the cancellation of their study. Tomitake's mysterious death would be a suitable way to persuade people. Tomitake was not the only one who was expected to die. Takano was expected to do so as well. However, Takano didn't really need to die herself. It acquired a substitute body for her, so she didn't actually have to die. Takano had no idea how they got the body. According to what they heard, a team in Gifu took care of everything. Once Tomitake and Takano were dead, Tokyo would definitely grow suspicious of the Irie Institute. The main purpose of this mission was to make the Institute look reckless.
申し訳ありません、笹。現地の工作班で問題が発生したようです。
問題？どうしたのかしら？
偽装死体の選別にミスがあったそうです。死後24時間経過していたとか。
あら、するとどういうことになるのかしら？つまりサンサは昨日すでに亡くなられていたことになってしまいます。
Yeah, no GIFs here, only GIFs. Takano's body was supposed to be selected from the corpses of people who had died the same day. The plan was to burn their body and make the identification of the corpse more difficult. They'd found a suitable body for the plan, however they just found out that it had been dead for over a day. That would create a hole in their plans.
現地の方で現在収集に当たっていますので。
いいわ。その死体を私ということにしなさい。
は、しかしそれでは。
ひなみ沢を滅びに導くお社様の使いが実は前日に死んでいて、祭りの当日には死者として歩き回っていたか。面白い。それは実に面白いわね。
Takano laughed with satisfaction for a while. The other people in the vehicle couldn't understand why Takano was laughing so much. They also thought to themselves, we're not getting paid enough for this. Takano continued to laugh as if it was the funniest thing she'd ever heard.
構わない。現地にはそれを私にしろと伝えなさい。そのくらいのズレがあった方が面白いわ。
よろしいのですか？万が一ということも。
万が一なんてないわ。だって高野美代は現に今日、たとえ検視の結果死後24時間以上経っていると出たっておめでたい連中は
Takano almost seemed to be enjoying the risk.
現場へその旨連絡します。
それより私の死体はドラム缶の中で焼かれていたの？
はい、高速道路近くの山中でドラム缶の中で焼けていたのを発見されたそうです。
Nana seemed surprised to hear that from him. Then she started laughing strangely again. Nobody could figure out why she was laughing like that.
なるほど。お社様の生まれ変わりは伊達じゃないということなのね。あの子にはやはり人知の及ばない何かがあるということを認めなければならない。南沢の山犬に R の監視体制を厳重にするように連絡を。
了解。
失礼します。沖宮警察が富武の遺体を発見したとの無線を傍受しました。
発見したわね。いよいよ始まるわよ。
おいさん、先生が到着してます。
どうもどうも。どうですか、入江の先生。
Where she entered the area enclosed by a blue tarp, and there people from forensics were taking pictures of the dead body from various angles. Irie was squatting down next to the dead body of Jiro Tomitake. He stood up, he was white as a sheet.
信じられません。
そりゃ私だって信じられませんよ。初見で見た限り、仏は喉をかきむしっています。それも自分の手でです。こいつはまっとうな死に方じゃない。十中八九、何らかのヤバめな薬物でしょう。
彼は何らかの薬物の常習者だったということでしょうか。
さあね。そいつを調べるのはどうやら我々の仕事になりそうです。
大石さん、この角材は
多分仏が振り回したんじゃないかと思います。で、途中で捨てて喉をかくのが楽しくなっちゃったんじゃないかと。
角材を何のために振り回したんでしょう。
自衛のためと考えるのが一番自然だと思います。仏の体に外傷がいくつかあるのに気づいてます？
ええ、打撲傷を思わせる跡がいくつか散見できます。
ってことは、一番考えられるストーリーは、仏が祭り終了後、沖宮へ帰る途中、ここで何者かに襲われた。それで取り押さえられて怪しげな注射とかそういうのをされて、その結果錯乱させられて死に至らしめられた。
喉をかきむしるように誘導できる薬物なんて聞いたことがありません。
私もそっちは専門じゃありませんが、何らかの中毒による異常行動に自傷行為ってあるらしいじゃないですか。まあその辺はうちの鑑識のじい様が調べてくれるでしょ
う。おいさん、失礼します。ここから数百メートルのところに富武二郎のものと思われる自転車が見つかりました。
おお、そうですか。ありがとうございます。何か手がかりとかは？
いえ、初見では特には。今鑑識が行ってます。
じゃあつまりその自転車があった場所が襲撃場所と考えていいんでしょうね。それで戦ったり逃げたりしてここまで来た。
Bushi frowned, crossing his arms in front of his chest. Irie was looking at the miserable corpse of Tomitake and kept saying the same thing.
ありえない。絶対にありえない。
Irie knew right away that Tomitake's death was caused by the terminal symptoms of Hinamizawa syndrome. He hadn't swung the 2x4 at a real person, but probably some kind of hallucination due to the level 5 symptoms. Violent reactions to hallucinations is one of the clearest characteristics of the terminal stage. However, Tomitake supposedly took a vaccine before he came to the village. There's no way he could reach level 5 symptoms in such a short period of time. Irie didn't want to believe it. It was obvious that someone had intentionally injected him with the pathogen. The pathogen must have been strong enough to give him level 5 symptoms immediately. The only drug that can do that is H173. chemical weapon that induces an acute onset of symptoms, makes people hallucinate, which inevitably leads to a horrible death. It's the absolute worst kind of demon. However, they had destroyed all of it due to its dangerous nature. All that was left were helpful chemicals such as vaccines and treatment drugs. Umitake was their liaison from Tokyo. Whoever killed him must have had full knowledge about him and this drug. How could that person know he was their liaison? It was then that Irie thought of Takano. Takano was also a watchdog from Tokyo. Something like a superintendent. It's quite possible that something bad had happened to her too.
そうだ。高野さんはどうなったんです？
え？ああ、お宅の看護師さんの。
多分、富武さんと一緒だったと思うんです。高野さんは無事なんですか？
先生、彼女の電話番号はわかります？
もちろんです。
熊ちゃん、入江の先生に電話番号を聞いて、署から在宅確認を取らせてください。
了解っす。先生、番号を。
はい。よろしいですか
While you get the phone number, repeated it to make sure he got it right, and dashed out of the blue tent.
高野さんと仏は確か親しい仲でしたよね。
ええ。
何かトラブルがあったとか、そういうのは聞いたことがあります？
まさか、聞いたことないです。仲のいい二人でした。
Umitake and Takano weren't just in a close relationship. They were co-workers sent from Tokyo. They had access to information that even Irie didn't. There's no way there was trouble between them.
何事もなけりゃいいんですがね。下手すりゃ仏か、それとも星か。なるほど。看護師なら怪しげな薬物を取り扱えてもおかしくはないですよね。
そんな薬品はうちの診療所にはありませんし、あったとしても厳重に保管されています。高野さんに持ち出せるわけがない。
それでも一般人よりは容易でしょ。
ですからそもそもそんな薬物は聞いたことがないし、当診療所にも存在しません。
Irie made clumsy excuses while he tried to piece together what was going on. However, Irie had no means of knowing the state of affairs in Tokyo, and he couldn't reach any further conclusions. It was easy to laugh at him as though he's a frog trapped in a well.
大石さん、留守のようです。署の待機組の方で直接訪問すると言ってます。
先生、すみませんが、高野さんの住所を教えてください。まじゃあ、それプラス県警に今夜出た身元不明の女性死体がないか確認を取ってください。あるいは県外の可能性もあるな。課長に近県にも同様に身元不明の女性死体が出てないか確認を取るよう伝えてください。
了解っす。
沖宮警察が現地の県警本部への接触を開始。サンサ、よろしいのですね。
ええ、構わないわ。そのままで行きなさい。どうせすぐに週末よ。誰かが一人くらい死亡時刻を疑ったって、誰かが耳を貸す前に全てが滅ぶ。
The day after Minagoroshi, Oishi showed up at her school. It isn't uncommon for Oishi to show up here today. Interestingly, he always asks to see the most key person in that world. He asks for Keiichi in the world where he gets sick. He asks for Ren in the world where she gets sick. In this world, he asks for me.
富武が死にましたか？
ええ、ちょっと尋常じゃない死に方でしてね。薬物か何かで錯乱状態だったんじゃないかと思います。自分で自分の喉をかき破るというショッキングな亡くなり方でした。
やはり抗えないのか。
There's nothing I can do now. I knew this was going to happen. I'm sure Takano is dead too.
彼女についても残念なご連絡があります。 隣の県の山中で焼死体で発見されました。死体の状況から多分絞殺された後に焼かれたんじゃないかと思っているのですが、どちらにせよ気の毒な話です。
大石の考えは分かってますです。僕が何か知っていると思っているんでしょう。
いやいや、まさかまさか。疑うとしたらこの一点だけです。あの人混みの中で小耳に挟めるようなところでこんな物騒な話をする人がいるわけがない。
僕が何かの陰謀の片棒を担いでると思っていますですか？
と思い込みたいところですが、それも引っ込めました。本当にその気なら、あなたは私にあんな入れ知恵をすることはなかったんですからね。少なくとも今回の事件を起こそうと考えた何者かとは相対する位置にいると思ってます。
それが本当ならとても嬉しいのです。
She threw a 10 yen coin in the offering box and shook the bell in prayer.
どうか今年こそ平見沢村連続開始事件を終わらせられますように。
そのために僕に協力しろと。
今のはお社様にお願いしたんですよ。
She is well aware that people call me the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama. It must have been his attempt at a joke.
こんなたたりはもう金輪際にしてほしいと思っていますです。
おや、ならフルデさんと私の求めるところは一致するようですね。
僕は昨日富武の死体が見つかりそうなところを予言しましたです。そこにパトカーはいなかったのですか？
いいえ、ちゃんと巫女様の予言に従って配置しました。ほら、細道路と砂利道の境目になっているあたりがあるじゃないですか。通称村境とか呼ばれているあたりです。あそこら辺はとても暗いですからね。何かヤバいことの起こりそうな匂いが一番プンプンするあたりです。
では富武の死体はどこで？
配置場所よりももっとずっと沖宮寄りの水田地帯の路肩です。
It's not where his body is usually found. He was fated to hallucinate and die. He would die in exactly the same spot, whether the cruiser was there or not. Just because the cruiser was placed there, Tomitake's body was found in a totally different spot. In other words, the existence of the police cruiser disrupted that fate.
でですね、ここからがちょいと面白い話になります。パトにはですね、私通る車もチェックさせたんです。そしたら高野の車が祭りの終わった後、沖宮方向へ通過したんですよ。
Takano lives in Okinomiya. It wouldn't be strange for it to head back home after the festival.
乗ってたのは一人だったんです。富武は乗っていなかった。
富武はひなみ沢にはいつも自転車で来ますから。
なら自転車をトランクに積んで車に乗せてもらうのが普通じゃありませんか。ですが富武は一緒じゃなかった。にもかかわらず富武の死体はひなみ沢からパトを越えて沖宮の方の水田地帯で見つかる。
つまり
あの真っ暗な中、森の中を突き進んでパトを迂回したなんてできる芸当ではありません。だとしたらパトに気づかれずに街道を抜けるしか考えられない。フルデさん、高野と仏の関係について教えていただけませんか。
恋人同士、それしか知らないです。
高野がね、恋人との最後の夜の仰せを一人で帰るというのが腑に落ちないんです。富武はその時トランクの中に詰められていて、あの真っ暗な森の中に捨てようとした。だがお告げのパトカーがたまたまそこにいちゃったもんで、仕方なくそこを通り抜け、もっと先で富武を捨てた。
Both Tomitake and Takano were sent here from Tokyo. I have no idea what their real identities are. I can't say that Takano has no reason to kill Tomitake. However, I've never considered that possibility before in my life. Takano killing Tomitake? But why? Can't think of any reason. Nothing comes to mind. It's hard to imagine Takano was cornered to the point she had to kill him. In fact, it's more plausible to think she was in a rage when the lovesick Tomitake acted cold towards her and she strangled his neck.
私はあのカップル、どことなく不釣り合いだなってずっと思ってました。こう言っちゃ富武君に失礼ですが、高野さんでは荷が勝ちすぎているんじゃないかなって。高野が富武を何かに利用しようとして近づいていたとか、そういう話を村の中で聞いたことはありませんかね。
ないです。でも話は聞いてみようと思いますです。何か分かったら大石にも知らせますです。
ありがとうございます。村の内部に詳しい方、それも御三家の当主でお社様の生まれ変わりの協力がいただければ鬼に金棒ですよ。
But even the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama couldn't solve this mystery for over 100 years.
その高野も殺されたのですよ。どういうことなのですか？
私はもしあなたから垂れ込み、お告げを聞いていなかったら、多分きっと富武と高野は共に犠牲者で、お社様のたたりの5年目ってことになったんだろうと思い込んだと思います。ですがこうなってくるとどうも違う。どうやらこいつはお社様のたたりの5年目ってことにしようとした巧妙な事件のように見えてきました。
つまり高野が犯人。
Basically, this is what Oishi is trying to say. They're not both victims. The culprit is also pretending to be a victim. This is really hard for me to believe. I can't think of any reason why Takano would do something like this. Oishi only feels this way because he doesn't know her as well as I do. For another thing, how can he explain that Takano's body was found? Didn't the police in Gifu Prefecture identify the body?
焼死体の識別には歯型照合が最も有効だと言われています。ただうちの鑑識のじじいが言うにはそれでも 100% じゃないという。まあそれよりおかしいのが現場の県警鑑識の死亡時刻なんです。当初死亡時刻が合わなかったらしいんです。
死亡時刻が合わない。
ねえ、祭りの前夜にはもう殺されてたっていう鑑識が出ちゃったらしいんです。内容物とかそういうのから調べるらしいですね。ですがこの時点で岐阜さんには高野の話をしちゃってたんです。だからお隣の県警さん、綿流しの日に彼氏とデートしてたはずの死体が死後24時間では話が合わないって言って、その鑑定結果を握りつぶしちゃったらしい。死亡時刻の鑑定なんかより死体の歯型鑑定の方がよっぽど精度が高いですからね。まあ現場にはたまにある話です。ですが高野が犯人かもしれないって目で見てみると、こいつは高野の死体じゃない可能性が出てきます。
死体をごまかすことなんて可能なのですか？
焼死体の鑑定は基本的に歯型以外は絶望的です。例えばこれは推理小説的な荒技ですが、沖宮のデンタルクリニックに残されていた高野美代の歯型のカルテ、これが巧妙な手口で捏造されていたら誤認もあり得る。まあそんなのは抜きにして、単純にお隣の県警さんが高野に間違いないと決めつけてしまった可能性の方が高いですが、警察組織内では往々にして初動時の鑑定ミスが後々まで尾を引くことが少なくない。伝説的な冤罪事件のほとんどはこれに起因します。私はどうやらその可能性が拭えない気がする。
つまり高野は生きてる。
高野美代は先日以来車ごと行方不明です。現地の死体が高野でないなら、これはなんだか面白そうな話になってきます。
Irie had already heard about the deaths of Tomitake and Takano. It seemed like both the clinic and the office in Tokyo had flown over and flown into a panic over it. Funny how they make such a big fuss about their own people, and they don't care about what happens to other people's lives. It would get in the way of their research. But I think that mystery is where we're going to call it for tonight.